you've been misled about the timing of your life. They told you that if you worked harder, pushed faster, rushed to the next thing, you'd finally find peace. But if that were true, why do so many people who are always busy still feel lost? Why do you still feel anxious, restless, like you're running but never arriving? The truth is, life isn't a race to be won. It's a path to be trusted. And Buddhist wisdom holds the map. For centuries, the greatest teachers, Buddha, Nagarjuna, Dogen, uncovered the real secret to peace, patience, and perfect timing. Not through control or force, but through surrender, through faith in the unseen and trust in the unfolding. Tonight, as you listen to these teachings, something deep inside you will shift. The fear of being behind will start to fade. The weight of rushing will loosen its grip. You'll feel your breath slow, your mind soften, and a quiet trust will rise from a place you forgot existed. And when you wake up tomorrow, the world will feel lighter. You will walk slower, see clearer, feel freer. This isn't just another audio to drift off to. This is a doorway, a new way of living, a chance to finally trust the timing of your life, without fear, without pressure, without doubt. Are you ready? Let's begin. And now, as your breath softens and your heart opens just a little more, it's time to step deeper. It's time to uncover one of the most overlooked but powerful truths that Buddhist wisdom has guarded for centuries. A truth that holds the power to dissolve the hidden desperation, the silent anxiety, the invisible heaviness you've been carrying for far too long. It begins with a new relationship to waiting, a kind of patience most people never get to taste. Tonight, you will. There's a quiet fear that creeps into many hearts without anyone noticing. It's the fear that life is passing by too quickly or too slowly, that somehow things should have happened already, that something essential is being missed. This fear wears many masks. Sometimes it feels like frustration, other times like sadness, and sometimes like a vague uneasiness that can't even be explained. But at the core, it's always the same. A secret desperation born from fighting with time itself. Buddhist teachings reveal that this desperation isn't natural, it's learned. It's a product of a mind trained to grasp, cling, and rush. From a young age, society teaches that faster is better, sooner is success, immediate is happiness. But what Buddhism whispers, quietly but clearly, is something revolutionary. True life unfolds perfectly when it is not forced. The heart finds peace not by getting everything faster, but by trusting deeply, waiting wisely, and flowing gently with what is. Patience in Buddhism isn't about being passive or lazy. It's a fierce, brave, and active trust in the deeper rhythms of life. It's the willingness to stand in the space between what you desire and when it appears without letting that space break you. It's realizing that in that space you are not powerless. You are ripening. You are becoming. The mind will resist this at first. It will shout stories of urgency. It will tell you that if you don't hurry, you'll fall behind, lose your chance, or waste your life. But Buddhist patience sees through these illusions. It knows that desperation is a trap, not a necessity. Every time you feel that tightness in your chest telling you that you should have been somewhere else by now, Buddhist wisdom invites you to see that feeling not as proof that you're late, but as proof that you're learning. There is an ancient teaching that says rushing is a kind of violence against the self. Every time you rush your healing, rush your growth, rush your destiny, you harm the very parts of you that need tenderness and time. Patience, then, becomes an act of profound compassion toward yourself. It is a way of saying to your own heart, I believe in you, I trust your process, I will not abandon you just because things are taking longer than I thought. Waiting is not empty. Waiting is full. It is full of silent transformations that the eyes cannot see yet. Just because the seed hasn't broken the surface does not mean nothing is happening. Beneath the soil, in the dark, in the unseen, life is preparing itself. Roots are spreading, foundations are being laid, strength is being built. And in the same way, when life asks you to wait, it is not punishing you, it is preparing you, it is deepening you, but it is not easy. The world rarely celebrates those who wait well. It celebrates the fastest, the loudest, the most aggressive. It teaches that patience is weakness and that slowness is failure. But the Dhammapada, one of the oldest Buddhist texts, teaches the opposite. It says that the patient one is the strongest because they have mastered the hardest battle, the battle within. When you wait with wisdom, you are not doing nothing. You are building resilience. You are training trust. You are learning to find joy not just in arrival, but in being. Buddhist patience isn't just about enduring until something better happens. It's about discovering that this very moment, even if it feels incomplete, is not a mistake. It is exactly where your soul needs to be. There's a soft power that grows when you surrender to timing. You start to see that desperation is not natural. It is manufactured by expectations. The mind says, it should be different by now. The heart, when allowed to speak, says, it's unfolding exactly as it should. Every breath you take without rushing strengthens this wisdom. Every moment you allow yourself to be fully present, even when things aren't happening on your timeline, grows an unshakable kind of peace. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. What many people don't realize is that clinging to timing is one of the deepest forms of attachment. Clinging to the idea that your career should be further along, that your relationship should have appeared already, that your healing should be complete by now. This is the invisible trap that suffocates joy. Buddhist patience cuts through that trap. It frees you to live the life unfolding right in front of you, rather than the one you're constantly chasing. Think of the river that does not race to the sea, but flows steadily, carving mountains and nurturing valleys along the way. It never questions its pace. It trusts its path. Buddhist patience invites you to become like that river, moving, yes, but never frantic, trusting the journey even when the destination is not yet visible. One of the great paradoxes Buddhism reveals is that when you stop rushing, life actually moves faster in the ways that truly matter, because you are no longer wasting energy fighting what is. You are no longer exhausting yourself in imaginary races against time. You are present, available, awake. And when you are awake, you see opportunities, insights, and blessings that a desperate mind would miss entirely. Waiting with wisdom also teaches you to love the subtle seasons of life. In spring, everything blooms and grows. In winter, everything rests and gathers strength. The tree does not panic when its leaves fall. It does not think it has failed. It knows that the bare branches are not a sign of death, but a preparation for deeper blooming to come. Buddhist patience sees your life the same way. It knows that seasons of waiting are not the end, they are part of the becoming. There will be moments when the urge to rush feels unbearable, when it feels like you can't stand one more second of uncertainty. These moments are the greatest teachers. They reveal where your trust is still fragile. They invite you again and again to choose faith over fear, to choose presence over panic, to choose the wisdom of waiting over the desperation of rushing. With each patient breath, you rewrite the story your mind tries to tell. You are no longer the victim of time. You are its student. You are no longer trapped by urgency. You are liberated by trust. Slowly, without even noticing at first, you become someone different, someone steadier, someone kinder, someone stronger than the storms of circumstance. Buddhist patience dissolves hidden desperations not by denying your desires, but by holding them gently. By recognizing that the things you long for are valid, but their timing is not always under your control. And that's not a flaw. It's a mercy. It means you don't have to bear the impossible burden of making everything happen at once. You can rest, you can breathe, you can trust. In Zen practice, there is a phrase, chop wood, carry water. It means that life is not about achieving extraordinary feats every day. It's about showing up, doing the simple work, trusting that even when nothing spectacular seems to be happening, something sacred is growing within you. Every moment you choose patience over panic, you are watering the seeds of your future peace. The hidden desperations that eat away at joy lose their power when faced with true patience, because desperation says, "I must have it now or I will be broken," while patience says, "Even without it, I am whole." Desperation says, "Time is running out," while patience says, "Time is carrying me exactly where I need to be." Tonight, as you let these words sink into your mind and heart, feel the weight of urgency start to melt away. Feel the tight fists of anxiety start to open. Feel yourself being cradled by something older and wiser than the mind's frantic plans, the deep, slow, unshakable rhythm of life itself. Tomorrow will come in its own time. Healing will unfold in its own time. Love, success, peace, they are all seeds already planted. Your job is not to yank them out of the soil to check their growth. Your job is to trust the rain, trust the seasons, trust the waiting. And as you drift deeper into sleep tonight, let this truth settle quietly into your being. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are right on time. And as the truth of patience softens the restless corners of your heart, something even deeper begins to awaken. It's the quiet, almost hidden knowing that life is never still. Even when it looks like nothing is happening, something is always moving beneath the surface. There is an ancient rhythm carrying you forward without your constant pushing. And tonight, you are going to step even closer to that rhythm. You are going to remember the silent work of the universe that never stops working on your behalf. There's a part of you that wants proof. Proof that your efforts matter. Proof that your kindness wasn't wasted. Proof that your struggles weren't for nothing. It's natural to want to see the fruits of your labor as quickly as possible. But Buddhist teachings invite you into a different kind of seeing, one that doesn't rely only on what the eyes can detect. It teaches that karma, the law of cause and effect, operates like a quiet clock, always ticking, always turning, even when the surface appears unchanged. The frustration comes when the heart forgets this truth. when the seeds you planted seem to lie dormant, when the prayers you whispered into the dark haven't yet returned an echo. Doubt creeps in, asking if you're wasting your energy, your love, your hope. But karma whispers back with infinite patience, nothing is lost. Every act of kindness, every moment of effort, every choice made with good intention sets invisible gears into motion. Even if you cannot see it yet, the universe is rearranging itself around the energy you have offered. The mistake many make is thinking karma is instant, that if you do good, good will immediately return in a form you recognize. But real karma is slower, subtler, wiser. It does not always return what the mind expects. It returns what the soul needs. Sometimes the reward is not in getting what you asked for, but in becoming someone stronger, freer, and wiser through the act of giving, trying, hoping. Buddhist masters teach that real faith is continuing to act from love and truth even when no results are visible yet. To trust the clock is ticking even when you cannot hear it. There's a profound relief that comes when you stop demanding immediate results, when you stop trying to measure your worth by the speed of your rewards. You free yourself from the exhausting cycle of expectation and disappointment. You begin to realize that life has a far bigger view of your journey than you do. What feels like delay or silence is often protection, preparation, even sacred redirection. The work you've done, the energy you've poured into the world, is never wasted. It is simply being woven into a future you have not yet reached. Karma's clock doesn't just track what you do, it also tracks how you do it. A small action done with full-hearted sincerity sends ripples farther than a grand gesture done for show. Intention matters. Energy matters. And sometimes the blessings that come back are not obvious. Sometimes they arrive in the form of a sudden inner peace you didn't know you needed. Sometimes they come disguised as challenges that force you to grow into a version of yourself capable of carrying the dreams you once thought were out of reach. It is tempting to view life transactionally. I gave this, so I should get that. But Buddhist wisdom dissolves this way of thinking. It invites you into a relationship with the universe that is based on trust, not bargaining. You act with goodness because goodness is who you are becoming, not because you are trying to manipulate outcomes. And in that surrender, something beautiful happens. You begin to move from scarcity to abundance, from impatience to grace, from fear to quiet power. There is an old Zen saying, "No snowflake falls in the wrong place." In the same way, no effort from the heart is ever misplaced. It may seem to vanish, lost in the storms of life, but it is simply finding its place in a pattern too vast and intricate for the mind to map. Trusting karma's clock means trusting that you are not laboring in vain. It means believing that your life is more than a series of isolated actions. It is a tapestry being woven by hands both seen and unseen. Sometimes the visible results of your efforts appear long after you have let them go. A word you spoke in kindness years ago may blossom in someone's heart today. A decision you made in integrity may protect you in ways you'll never fully know. You are not just living for immediate gratification. You are building unseen bridges, planting unseen gardens, lighting unseen paths. Karma works on a timeline that honors not just your desires, but your deepest becoming. Buddhist monks often talk about merit, the invisible fruits of right action that accumulate over time. They compare it to filling a jar drop by drop. Each drop seems insignificant. Each act of patience, each act of compassion, each moment of forgiveness might seem too small to matter. But over time, the jar fills. Over time, the invisible becomes visible. Over time, the work you thought had been forgotten shines back at you in ways that leave you humbled and amazed. Learning to trust karma's clock also means learning to let go of the need to control how or when the fruits arrive. The universe knows things you do not. It sees dangers you are blind to. It sees opportunities you are not ready for yet. When your efforts seem unrewarded, it is not because they were wrong. It is because the soil is still deepening, the conditions are still aligning, the roots are still strengthening. Trusting this process requires surrender, a kind of quiet heroism that few talk about, but that transforms lives from within. There is a hidden magic that begins to reveal itself when you stop demanding life to pay you back on your schedule. You start noticing the small miracles, the unexpected kindness, the doors that open without you forcing them, the sudden waves of peace that come when you stop fighting what is. You start living not as a beggar of blessings, but as a co-creator with life itself. You start realizing that the energy you send out has already shaped your path, even if the results have not yet touched your hands. One of the most liberating truths Buddhism teaches is that you are not working for an immediate reward. You are working to shape your own soul. Every act of patience, forgiveness, generosity, and faith polishes the mirror of your being. And even if the world never claps for it, even if no one ever sees it, you will feel it. You will feel yourself becoming someone lighter, steadier, stronger. That is the real reward. That is the treasure no thief can steal, no disappointment can touch. When you start living this way, something incredible happens. You stop needing constant validation. You stop chasing results like a child chasing bubbles. You start walking with a deeper kind of dignity. A quiet confidence that no matter what the outer circumstances look like, your inner world is flourishing. You are no longer waiting for life to approve of you. You have already approved of yourself through the way you choose to live. Karma's quiet clock is always ticking, even when the night feels endless, even when the road seems invisible. Every breath you take with awareness, every step you take with kindness, every choice you make with truth adds to a life that cannot help but bloom in time. Not on your schedule, but on life's. Not by your watch, but by a deeper unfolding that holds your highest good in ways you cannot yet see. As you rest deeper into tonight's quiet, feel the relief of releasing the need to rush your rewards. Feel the ease of knowing that nothing good you have given was wasted. Feel the comfort of realizing that the invisible is always moving, always working, always weaving a future that honors every sincere effort you have made. The seeds have been planted, the water has been poured, the sun is shining even when clouds hide it from view. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are part of a timing that stretches beyond fear, beyond impatience, beyond doubt. You are right where you need to be. And the work you have done in silence, in patience, in faith, it is not lost. It is already becoming the life you were always meant to live. And as you begin to trust that life is already working on your behalf, even when you can't see it, another deep shift begins. It's not just about trusting karma's clock. It's about stepping completely out of the invisible race you've been running without realizing. Tonight, you're going to step out of the race. Tonight, you're going to remember a deeper pace, a quieter rhythm, a freedom that has been waiting for you all along. There's a hidden pressure most people carry without even questioning it. The feeling that by a certain age you must have achieved certain things, checked certain boxes, climbed certain ladders. A timeline written not by your soul, but by fear, comparison, and expectations. Without realizing it, life starts to feel like a race. A frantic, breathless race where falling behind feels like failure and slowing down feels like shame. But Buddhist wisdom looks at this race and smiles gently, because it knows the race is an illusion. It knows that rushing toward milestones only blinds you to the sacredness of where you already are. The idea that life must unfold by a certain schedule is not nature's idea. It is a human idea built from comparison, fear, and insecurity. Trees do not rush to bloom faster than their neighbors. Rivers do not panic if they flow more slowly than others. Only the human mind creates suffering by turning life into a competition. The problem with living inside this race is that it never ends. You tell yourself you'll finally feel peace when you reach a certain goal, but as soon as you get close, the goalpost moves. The mind says, "Not enough, not yet, keep running." And so you keep running, chasing happiness like a horizon that always stays out of reach. Exhaustion sets in, resentment grows. Life becomes a treadmill of never enough. Buddhism offers a different way, a way that does not reject growth or dreams, but refuses to turn them into chains. It teaches that true happiness is not found in winning the race. It's found in stepping off the racetrack altogether. It's found in realizing that your life is not a competition to be won, but a masterpiece to be lived. When you free yourself from deadlines, something beautiful happens. You start moving at the pace of truth, not fear. You begin making decisions based on wisdom, not panic. You find that the real treasures of life, peace, joy, connection, depth, are never located at the finish line of some imagined race. They are always here, now, hidden in the moments you used to rush past. There is a Tibetan teaching that says, if you miss the present moment, you miss your whole life. That is the real tragedy of the race mindset. It robs you of your life while convincing you that you're working hard to earn it. It makes you sprint past the sunsets, the laughter, the quiet triumphs, always chasing a future that never quite satisfies when it arrives. Stepping beyond deadlines doesn't mean you stop dreaming or working hard. It means you stop tying your worth to how quickly things happen. It means you start trusting that your path is your own, incomparable to anyone else's. It means you honor the sacred timing of your own blooming, no matter how different it looks from the timelines you've been handed. It's easy to forget that every person's path is different. Some flowers bloom in spring, some in summer, some not until the first frost. Some lives unfold in early triumph, others unfold in a slow, breathtaking crescendo. There is no single right timeline. There is only the unfolding that is right for you. Comparison feeds the illusion of the race. It tricks you into thinking you are behind because someone else got there first. But Buddhism teaches that comparison is one of the roots of suffering, because no two beings are the same, no two journeys are the same. To compare timelines is like comparing the sunrise and the sunset. Both are beautiful, both are necessary, both unfold exactly when they are meant to. Every time you release the belief that you are late, something inside you relaxes. Every time you step out of comparison, you reclaim a piece of your peace. Every time you stop treating your life like a series of deadlines, you come back to the simple, sacred truth. You are alive now, and that is enough. One of the greatest teachings of Buddhism is the understanding of non-striving. Non-striving doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean giving up. It means acting from a place of joy, curiosity, and love, not from desperation, fear, or pressure. It means doing your best and releasing the need to control the timing of the results. It means trusting that the work itself is enough without tying your self-worth to how fast things happen. When you stop racing, you start living. You begin to notice the small things again, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the kindness in a stranger's eyes, the quiet beauty of a simple meal. These are the moments that real life is made of, not the trophies, not the milestones, but the unnoticed, sacred pauses that the race made you too blind to see. Stepping beyond deadlines also heals a deep wound in the heart, the wound of never feeling enough. As long as you live by external timelines, you will always feel you are failing, falling behind, running out of time. But when you step out of that illusion, you begin to see that you were never behind. You were simply blooming in your own perfect season. There is a saying in Zen, when walking, walk, when eating, eat. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But within it lies a revolutionary truth. Presence is more powerful than progress. Being fully where you are is more important than rushing to where you think you should be. The greatest victories are often invisible to the outside world. The victory of staying gentle in a harsh moment. The victory of choosing patience over panic. The victory of honoring your own pace when the world demands speed. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to trust that you are not missing your life by moving slower. You are actually finding it. You are allowed to let go of the deadlines that have become cages. You are allowed to breathe deeper than the world's expectations. The truth is, life is not a straight line. It twists, turns, doubles back, leaps forward, and sometimes stands still. Growth is not always visible. Progress is not always linear. Sometimes what looks like stillness is the deepest movement of all. Sometimes what looks like delay is life gathering its forces to launch you into a destiny far greater than the one you were racing toward. When you release the illusion that life is a race, you stop measuring your days by how much you achieve and start measuring them by how much you truly live. You start valuing peace over productivity, depth over speed, authenticity over appearances. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to create a life that is not just impressive to others, but nourishing to your soul. As you let this truth settle deeper into your being tonight, feel the relief of laying down the heavy burden of deadlines. Feel the freedom of stepping out of the race. Feel the joy of knowing that you are allowed to be fully present right where you are, without rushing, without comparing, without apologizing. You are not here to outrun anyone. You are not here to meet someone else's schedule. You are here to unfold in your own sacred time, to live your own sacred story, to walk your own sacred path. And as you rest deeper into this truth, remember, there is no race, there is no finish line, there is only now, and now is enough. And now that the weight of racing has started to fall away from your shoulders, there's something even deeper waiting to be discovered. It's not just about stepping out of the race, it's about learning to move with life in a new way, not rushing ahead, not holding back, but finding a rhythm so natural, so wise, that peace becomes your default, no matter what is happening around you. There's a subtle tension that lives inside almost everyone. The urge to speed things up when fear creeps in. The temptation to delay things when doubt whispers in your ear. It's easy to swing between extremes, pushing too hard when you feel anxious, hesitating too much when you feel afraid. But Buddhist wisdom points to a different way, a middle way, a way of living where you no longer fight the flow, but you also don't abandon your role in it. The middle path of timing teaches that life is not about forcing or freezing. It is about moving with awareness, acting when the moment is ripe, pausing when it is not. It's about recognizing that life itself has a current, and your task is not to control it, but to feel it, to dance with it, to trust it. When you rush, you try to outrun your own becoming. You try to yank fruit from a tree whose roots are still growing, and what you get is not ripe sweetness, but bitterness. When you withhold, you deny yourself the courage to step into new opportunities, clinging to false safety. And what you get is not peace, but stagnation. Both rushing and withholding are ways of resisting life's natural unfolding. Both create suffering. The middle path asks something more courageous from you. It asks you to stay awake enough to sense when to move and when to stay still. It asks you to listen not to fear, not to pressure, but to the subtle voice of wisdom that knows when the soil is ready for planting, when the river is ready for crossing, when the door is ready to be walked through. Learning this balance is not easy. The mind craves certainty. It wants guarantees that if you act now, you will be rewarded, or that if you wait long enough, everything will become safe. But life does not operate on the mind's terms. It moves in rhythms far deeper than logic. Trusting those rhythms requires humility. It requires admitting that you are not the master of time, but its participant. When you start walking the middle path of timing, life begins to feel different. There's less fear, less grasping, less regret. You start noticing that many of your greatest mistakes came from either rushing into things your heart wasn't ready for, or holding back from things your soul was calling you toward. Wisdom grows in the space between those two extremes. Wisdom grows where patience and courage meet. The middle path teaches that action is sacred when it arises from clarity, not compulsion. Waiting is sacred when it arises from readiness, not fear. In every moment, life invites you to tune in, to ask not, "What should I be doing?" but "What is true right now?" Sometimes truth will move you forward. Sometimes it will ask you to stay still. Both are progress when they come from alignment. Rushing often comes from a fear of missing out, a fear that if you don't grab something now, it will slip away forever. But Buddhist wisdom reminds you that what is truly meant for you cannot be lost by missing a moment. What is meant for you will not require you to betray your own timing to receive it. It will align when both the inner and outer conditions are ready. Withholding, on the other hand, often comes from a fear of failure. A fear that stepping forward will expose you to loss, pain, or embarrassment. But the middle path reminds you that growth always requires risk, that sometimes the doorway to your next becoming looks like uncertainty. Waiting for perfect safety is like waiting for a day without clouds. Beautiful in theory, but impossible in practice. There is deep freedom in learning that you do not have to live at the extremes. You do not have to live with your foot on the gas or the brake. You can live in the flow. You can act from presence, not panic. You can rest from wisdom, not avoidance. The middle path of timing is not a static place. It is alive. It is sensitive. It requires you to stay tuned to your own soul the way a sailor stays tuned to the wind and the tides. Some days the call will be to move boldly. Some days the call will be to root deeper where you are. Your task is not to force one or the other, but to listen carefully and act accordingly. In Buddhism, the symbol of the middle path is often compared to tuning a stringed instrument. If the string is too tight, it will snap. If the string is too loose, it will not make music. Only when it is tuned just right will it sing. Your life is the same. Too much pressure and you burn out. Too much delay and you stagnate. Balance is where your soul begins to sing. This balance is not a one-time achievement. It is a daily, even moment-by-moment practice. It requires honesty with yourself. Am I acting from fear right now? Am I waiting out of wisdom or out of avoidance? Am I moving forward because the moment is ripe or because I am impatient? Am I staying still because the ground needs more preparing or because I am afraid of change? These questions are not criticisms. They are invitations. They are doorways back into deeper alignment. Walking the middle path also teaches compassion for yourself and for others. You stop judging yourself harshly for not being faster or braver or more decisive. You recognize that everyone is learning how to feel their way through life's currents. You begin to trust that missteps are not failures, but part of the tuning process. You allow yourself to adjust, to learn, to grow without shame. The middle path asks you to hold your dreams lightly, not to abandon them, but not to strangle them either. To plant them like seeds, to water them with action when the time is right, and to trust them enough to let them grow without constant interference. Dreams, like gardens, need both attention and space. The balance between action and surrender is what allows them to bloom. When you find yourself feeling anxious, pressured, frantic, it is often a sign that you have leaned too far into rushing. When you find yourself feeling stuck, restless, heavy, it is often a sign that you have leaned too far into withholding. These emotions are not enemies, they are signals. They are invitations to recenter yourself, to come back to the middle, to ask again, what is true right now? The middle path is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about noticing when you have drifted toward extremes and gently, without judgment, returning to balance. It is about trusting that even when you lose your way, the way never loses you. It is about remembering that timing is not a punishment, but a partner. That life is not against you when things move slowly, nor when they move swiftly. Life is with you, always, if you are willing to move with it. As you drift deeper into this understanding tonight, feel the space opening up inside you. Feel the permission to act when it's time, to rest when it's needed, to trust that both movement and stillness are sacred when they arise from listening, not fear. You do not have to force your path. You do not have to hold it hostage. You only have to walk it, one wise step at a time. And in doing so, you will find that life itself becomes your greatest teacher, your greatest partner, and your greatest peace. And now, as your heart starts learning the gentle art of balancing movement and stillness, there is a quieter, even deeper truth waiting to be felt. It's the understanding that even when you act wisely, even when you stay aligned with the middle path, some things still require time that cannot be rushed. No matter how much effort you bring, there is an ancient rhythm underneath everything that you must learn to trust. Tonight, we step fully into that trust. There is a secret impatience that hides inside even the calmest faces, a silent craving that asks, when will my work pay off? When will my healing finish? When will my love, my peace, my dream finally arrive? It's a question whispered in lonely hours, a question that carries a heavy sadness when the answer seems too far away. And yet, the teachings of Buddhism offer a quiet, radical answer. The fruit ripens on its own. No amount of force, no amount of worrying can make it come before its time. The tree does not stare at its branches in frustration, demanding the blossoms open faster. The river does not shout at the mountains to move out of its way. Nature is never in a hurry, yet everything gets accomplished. There is a wisdom woven into the very fabric of existence, the slow, patient, inevitable unfolding of all things when the conditions are right. This is not laziness. This is not passivity. This is trust in the deeper alchemy that turns unseen effort into visible transformation. Buddhist practice teaches that every action you take with pure intention plants a seed. Every breath taken in mindfulness waters it. Every small choice toward truth and compassion nourishes it. But you are not in charge of when it breaks the surface. You are not in charge of how fast it grows. You are the caretaker, not the clockmaker. Your job is to tend the soil, not to yank at the sprouts. When you start to live this way, a new kind of peace takes root in you. A peace that doesn't rise and fall with results. A peace that isn't dependent on visible success. A peace that trusts that unseen forces are always at work and that your role is sacred, even if the rewards are invisible for now. This is one of the greatest tests of trust, to continue showing up for your life without needing immediate proof that it's working, to keep speaking kindly even when others are silent, to keep showing up to your practice even when it feels dry, to keep believing in growth even when all you see are bare branches. The slow alchemy of effort and nature cannot be hurried, no matter how noble your intentions. The sun does not rise faster because you beg it to. Healing does not complete itself faster because you grow impatient. Love does not bloom more quickly because you demand it. Every deep, meaningful thing in life grows according to its own rhythm, not yours. And strangely, this is what makes them precious. If everything came the moment you asked for it, it would lose its depth. If every dream was granted instantly, it would lose its power to shape you. It is the waiting, the tending, the growing in unseen ways that prepares you to actually receive what you long for without being crushed by it, without losing yourself in it. There is an old Buddhist story about a man who pulled at the sprouts in his garden to try to make them grow faster, only to kill them. The lesson is clear. Some things cannot be forced. Some things can only be allowed. And your life, your healing, your becoming is one of those things. When frustration rises because the fruit has not appeared yet, Buddhist wisdom invites you to return to presence, to remember that each moment spent in sincerity, in compassion, in right effort, is already fulfillment. You are not preparing to live. You are living now. You are not waiting for your real life to start. It has already begun. There's a quiet courage needed to live this way. The courage to trust that slow growth is still growth. The courage to believe that unseen change is still change. The courage to let go of needing constant reassurance and to instead root yourself in the simple, solid trust that nature's timing is wiser than your own. Effort is not wasted because results are delayed. Love is not lost because it is not immediately returned. Healing is not failed because it does not move in straight lines. The work you are doing in the invisible places, in your thoughts, in your habits, in your prayers, is shaping your destiny even when no one, including yourself, can yet see the full picture. The fruit ripens on its own. It does not need your anxiety to push it forward. It needs your steady care, your patience, your willingness to stay faithful even when doubt gnaws at the edges of your heart. You do not need to give up because the harvest has not arrived. You do not need to despair because the tree looks bare. You are not being punished by the slowness. You are being shaped by it. You are being invited into a deeper trust, a trust that will serve you far beyond this particular season of waiting. When you stop trying to rush the ripening, you start noticing the beauty of the process itself. You start seeing how each small step matters, how each morning you choose peace over panic adds a layer to your strength, how each act of forgiveness, even when it feels unnoticed, polishes your soul, how every choice to show up, to breathe, to believe becomes part of the invisible roots that one day will bear visible fruit. And even when the fruit does come, Buddhist wisdom teaches that it is not the end point. It is simply another beginning, another cycle of planting, tending, waiting, trusting. Life is not a straight line leading to a final reward. It is a spiral, an ever-deepening dance of effort and surrender, action and trust, offering and receiving. This way of living frees you from the endless hunger for quick fixes. It frees you from the shallow culture of instant gratification. It reconnects you to the deeper, older rhythms of the earth itself. Rhythms that know how to create mountains, oceans, forests without ever rushing, without ever doubting. There is a deep, ancient patience available to you, deeper than the mind's impatience, older than your fears. A patience that knows you are exactly where you need to be. A patience that smiles at the slow ripening of your soul. A patience that sees the invisible changes even when the world cannot. Let yourself fall into that patience tonight. Let yourself rest in the knowing that every sincere effort you have made has already been woven into the great tapestry of your life. Let yourself breathe deeper, trust wider, and release the heavy burden of needing to control the timing of your own unfolding. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not failing. You are growing in ways too deep for the eye to see yet. And when the time is right, you will blossom in ways too beautiful to have been rushed. And now, as the deep patience of nature begins to settle into your heart, there is one more tender truth waiting to be seen. Sometimes, even with all the trust in the world, there is still a temptation to pick the fruit before it's ready, to rush your healing, to rush your wisdom, to rush your arrival. But tonight, you are going to let that urgency fall away. You are going to step into an even deeper freedom, the freedom of letting every lesson ripen in its own sacred time. There is a kind of quiet suffering that comes not from lack of effort, but from trying to force your own evolution. A voice inside that says, "I should have figured this out already. I should be over this by now. I should be further ahead." That voice carries a hidden violence. It pushes against your natural unfolding, turning growth into a battlefield rather than a journey. Buddhism teaches that true growth cannot be rushed, that every lesson in life arrives precisely when the heart is ready to receive it, not a moment earlier, not a moment later. Trying to rush your lessons is like trying to make a flower bloom by pulling at its petals. You don't help it, you destroy its ability to open naturally. This rushing comes from a misunderstanding. It comes from the belief that you must reach a perfect version of yourself before you are allowed to rest, before you are allowed to feel worthy, before you are allowed to be loved. But Buddhist wisdom tears that belief apart with gentle, fearless clarity. You are not here to rush to some final version of yourself. You are here to live, to learn, to fall, to rise, to keep becoming, endlessly, patiently, lovingly. When you rush your healing, you miss the healing. When you rush your forgiveness, you miss the forgiveness. When you rush your awakening, you miss the awakening. Because the depth of these things is not in arriving at a new state. It is in the slow, sometimes painful, sometimes beautiful unfolding that changes you in ways you could never have scripted. Each wound you carry, each habit you are trying to transform, each fear you are learning to outgrow, carries within it 1,000 silent lessons. And these lessons are not just intellectual. They must be lived. They must be felt in the bones, absorbed in the heart, woven into the fabric of your being. That takes time. That takes seasons of falling down, standing back up, questioning, surrendering, beginning again. There is no shortcut through this. There is no fast track to wisdom. And trying to rush it only deepens the suffering. Because when you rush, you don't actually move faster. You simply move with more anxiety, more frustration, more self-judgment. You turn the journey into a punishment instead of the miracle it was always meant to be. Buddhist teachers often remind their students that enlightenment itself is not an instant flash that falls from the sky. It is the slow, patient accumulation of countless moments of presence, countless moments of surrender, countless moments of coming back to the truth when the mind wanders away. It is built moment by moment, breath by breath, like drops of water filling a great ocean. Letting go of premature harvest means letting go of the fantasy that you can skip the messy parts of growth. It means honoring the sacredness of your current stage, even if it feels incomplete, even if it feels clumsy, even if it feels unbearably slow. It means trusting that the lessons you are learning right now, even if they are painful, even if they seem small, are not obstacles to your path. They are the path. When you stop rushing to be done, you begin to truly learn. You begin to listen more deeply to what life is trying to teach you through each moment of confusion, each failure, each unexpected detour. You begin to find the gold hidden inside the very experiences you once tried so hard to escape. You realize that the goal was never to reach some final, polished version of yourself. The goal was always to live fully inside the unfolding, to meet each moment with openness instead of resistance, to greet each lesson with humility instead of impatience. There is a strange paradox here. The less you rush your growth, the deeper and faster it actually happens. Because true transformation is not fueled by pressure, it is fueled by presence. It blooms in the soil of self-compassion, not self-criticism. Every time you allow yourself to be exactly where you are, without forcing yourself to be anywhere else, you water the seeds of real wisdom. Every time you honor the pace of your own becoming, you deepen your roots. Every time you breathe into your own imperfect humanity, instead of fighting it, you open yourself to the gentle alchemy that turns experience into wisdom. Letting go of premature harvest also teaches you to stop measuring yourself against others. Every soul has its own curriculum. Every heart learns in its own way, at its own pace. Comparing your growth to someone else's is like comparing the ripening of an apple to the blooming of a rose. Each follows a different rhythm. Each brings its own kind of beauty into the world. When you stop rushing, you also start to appreciate the hidden richness of the journey itself. You start to notice how much strength is being built in the waiting, how much clarity is being carved out of the confusion, how much tenderness is being shaped in the spaces where you thought nothing was happening. The Buddha taught that the path to liberation is like crossing a river. You cannot rush across it without falling in. You must move carefully, step by step, feeling your way forward, trusting the flow even when it carries you in unexpected directions. The middle of the river, the space where you are not where you started but not yet where you are going, is not a mistake. It is the sacred heart of the journey. Letting go of premature harvest means embracing that middle space, living fully inside it, trusting that you are being shaped by forces wiser and kinder than your fear, trusting that your life knows what it's doing, even when your mind does not. It also means forgiving yourself for not being finished, for not having it all figured out, for still falling, still struggling, still learning. Because the truth is, even the masters, even the saints, even the enlightened ones were once exactly where you are, unsure, impatient, yearning for faster progress. And they became who they are not by skipping this stage, but by living it fully, humbly, and with great trust. Tonight, as you let yourself soften into these words, allow the pressure to dissolve. Allow the timeline you've been carrying in your mind to fall away. Let go of the fantasy that says you need to be perfect by now. You don't. You only need to be here, alive, willing, open. The lessons you are learning now are not lesser because they are slow. They are not wasted because they are messy. They are not broken because they are incomplete. They are sacred. They are forming the foundation for the person you are slowly, beautifully becoming. And when the time is right, when the roots are deep enough, when the soil has given all it can give, the fruit will come. Not because you forced it, but because you trusted it. Not because you rushed it, but because you honored it. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are ripening quietly, bravely, beautifully into exactly who you are meant to be. And that is more than enough. And now, as the pressure to rush your growth begins to melt away, another quiet doorway appears before you. A doorway into a truth so deep and freeing that once you step through it, your whole life will feel lighter. Because it's not just about trusting the slow ripening, it's about realizing that every delay, every pause, every unexpected stillness is not an interruption. It's an invitation, a sacred, hidden call from life itself to grow in ways you never would have chosen, but exactly the ways you need. There is a heavy sadness that comes when things don't move as fast as you hoped. A voice that asks, "Why isn't it happening yet? What am I doing wrong?" In those moments, it's easy to feel forgotten, overlooked, punished. But Buddhist wisdom teaches a different way of seeing. It teaches that delay is not the enemy. Delay is part of the teaching. Delay is often the very hand of Dharma, guiding you not away from your destiny, but deeper into it. Dharma, in its simplest form, means truth. It means the law of how things unfold when you are in harmony with life, not fighting against it. And sometimes the highest Dharma does not move at the speed of your plans. Sometimes it moves at the speed of your soul's deepest readiness. Sometimes it holds you back, not to harm you, but to protect you, to prepare you, to polish you into the vessel strong enough to hold the blessings that are coming. When you learn to see delay this way, something inside you softens. You stop seeing obstacles where there are actually opportunities. You stop seeing rejection where there is actually redirection. You stop seeing punishment where there is actually preparation. You begin to live with less bitterness, less fear, less resistance to the pauses and detours that life inevitably weaves into every journey. The mind loves to plan, to plot, to predict. It loves straight lines and clear maps. But real growth is rarely a straight line. Real growth curves, loops, dives, stalls and soars in ways the mind cannot anticipate. Real growth moves like a river, not a road. It meanders, it rests, it gathers strength in hidden pools before rushing forward again. Delay is part of that river's wisdom. It gives you time to gather strength you didn't know you needed. It gives you time to learn lessons you would have missed if everything had gone according to plan. It gives you time to meet parts of yourself that only reveal themselves when things slow down and force you to listen. Buddhist teachings remind us that impatience is often rooted in ego. The ego wants the reward now. The ego wants the path to be easy, linear, predictable. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that the deepest treasures are hidden behind the doors that only open with time, with humility, with surrender. When you experience a delay, you are being invited into a deeper relationship with trust. You are being asked to loosen your grip on how and when things should happen. You are being called to see with new eyes, to ask not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What is this trying to teach me?" Sometimes delays protect you from consequences you cannot yet see. Sometimes they push you to build skills you will desperately need later. Sometimes they stretch your patience, your compassion, your resilience, not as a punishment, but as a preparation for the life you said you wanted. There is a kind of growth that only happens in the pause, a kind of strength that only grows in seasons of uncertainty, a kind of wisdom that only reveals itself when you are forced to sit still long enough to see beyond your surface desires. Life's pauses can feel cruel if you resist them. They can feel like a waste of time if you insist on rushing through them. But if you lean in, if you listen, if you trust that even the silence is full of meaning, they become some of the most powerful, transformative chapters of your life. The Buddha's own life was filled with delays and detours. Before he awakened under the Bodhi tree, he spent years wandering, searching, failing, questioning. Those years were not wasted. They were essential. Without them, he would not have been ready to receive the final truth. His delay was his Dharma unfolding in perfect, painful, beautiful timing. Your delays are no different. Your life is not stalled. Your soul is not forgotten. You are simply in a season where growth is happening underground, where roots are being woven deeper than your fears, where your character is being shaped in ways that will one day carry you farther than any shortcut could. When you begin to trust this, everything changes. You stop cursing the wait. You start honoring it. You start asking deeper questions. You start looking not just for outcomes, but for insights. You start treating every pause as a sacred classroom where life itself is the teacher. You realize that the pause is not empty. It is brimming with invisible work. The healing you thought was stalled is actually deepening. The dreams you thought were dying are actually maturing. The parts of you that felt stuck are actually being fortified. This way of seeing transforms delay from a source of suffering into a source of gratitude. It doesn't take away the difficulty, but it takes away the despair. It reminds you that just because you cannot see the fruit yet doesn't mean the tree has stopped growing. It teaches you to live with open hands, not clenched fists. To let go of rigid expectations about how fast things should move. To let life surprise you with better outcomes than you could have ever orchestrated by force. And slowly, without even realizing it, you become someone different. Someone more patient, someone more trusting, someone more resilient, someone more compassionate, not just toward yourself, but toward everyone else struggling with their own unseen delays. You start to see that everyone is walking through secret seasons of waiting. Everyone is carrying silent hopes that haven't yet come to life. Everyone is learning, slowly and painfully, how to trust a timing bigger than their own desires. Seeing delay as Dharma is one of the most liberating shifts you can experience. It frees you from the lie that your life is wasting away when things move slowly. It roots you in the truth that life is always moving, even when the surface looks still. It reminds you that your worth is not tied to your speed, that your value is not tied to your progress, that your importance is not measured by how fast you achieve visible success. It anchors you in the deeper knowing that you are enough right now, in the pause, in the waiting, in the slow unfolding, because growth is happening in ways the mind cannot yet comprehend. Tonight, as you let yourself breathe softer and deeper, allow this truth to settle into your bones. You are not stuck. You are not being punished. You are not being left behind. You are being shaped by hands wiser than your plans. You are being prepared for blessings bigger than your expectations. You are being invited into a trust that cannot be shaken by any delay, by any pause, by any unexpected turn. You are exactly where you need to be. And the life that is meant for you is already finding its way to you, one quiet, sacred moment at a time. And now, as the wisdom of trusting life's pauses begins to root itself deeper into your heart, there's still one quiet lie that needs to be untangled, a lie that sits heavy on the soul, whispering when you're tired, accusing when you're uncertain. It's the voice that says you are behind, that you missed your moment, that you are running out of time. But tonight, we are going to expose that lie. Tonight, you are going to step out of that illusion and reclaim your rightful place in the unfolding of your own life. There's a heavy sadness that creeps in when you measure yourself against invisible timelines, a feeling that somehow, somewhere, you took a wrong turn, that you should have achieved more by now, that everyone else has figured it out, while you are still wandering. It's a loneliness that no one talks about, but almost everyone feels. It's a weight made heavier by every birthday, every social media scroll, every whispered comparison. Buddhist teachings call this suffering what it really is: attachment to false ideas, the belief that there is one right timeline for success, one correct path for growth, one universal deadline for happiness. But the truth is, Life does not operate on a conveyor belt. There is no master clock ticking against you. There is only the sacred, mysterious unfolding of each soul's journey, perfectly timed, even when it looks nothing like the stories you've been told. The idea of being behind is a trick of the mind. It's built on comparison, judgment, and fear. It's built on the illusion that you can measure the infinite, rich, messy experience of being human against a neat checklist of milestones. It's built on forgetting that every life blooms in its own season, for reasons far beyond what the mind can see. No tree looks at another and feels ashamed for blossoming later. No river judges itself for taking longer to reach the sea. Only humans, with our tangled expectations and learned insecurities, turn our lives into races we were never meant to run. When you believe you are behind, you disconnect from the richness of your own path. You stop seeing the gifts hidden in your particular journey. You start rushing past the small, beautiful things that are shaping you in ways no shortcut could ever replace. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not caused by circumstances alone. It is caused by the stories we tell about those circumstances. And one of the most painful stories is the story that says, "I am late, I am wrong, I have failed." But this story collapses under the weight of deeper truth. The truth that you have never been late for your own life. The truth that everything you have lived, the detours, the delays, the mistakes, has been part of the shaping, the seasoning, the sacred preparation for the life that is uniquely yours. There is a tenderness needed to see your path with new eyes, to stop criticizing yourself for not being somewhere else, to honor where you are, not as a failure to arrive, but as a necessary part of the journey that is still beautifully unfolding. When you let go of the illusion of being behind, you begin to notice something profound. You notice that many of the most important qualities you admire in others, wisdom, resilience, compassion, depth, were not born in easy, fast, straightforward journeys. They were carved through struggle, through patience, through seasons of not knowing, not arriving, not fitting into neat timelines. You begin to see that your own delays, your own struggles, your own questions are not signs that you are broken. They are the fires that forge your strength. They are the rains that nourish your roots. They are the unseen gifts that will one day allow you to offer something real, something true, something irreplaceable to the world. Letting go of personal timelines also means freeing yourself from the toxic comparisons that sap your joy. It means remembering that you cannot see the full picture of anyone else's life. You see their highlight reels, their polished moments, their outward milestones. You do not see the nights they doubted themselves, the years they wandered, the wounds they carry quietly. When you compare your raw, unfolding story to someone else's edited highlight reel, you are always going to feel behind. But when you come back to your own life, when you see it for what it really is, messy, beautiful, imperfect, alive, you start to realize that you are not behind at all. You are exactly where you need to be to learn what you need to learn, to grow into who you are meant to become. One of the deepest teachings of Buddhism is the practice of beginner's mind, the ability to meet each moment with openness, without judgment, without the heavy weight of preconceived timelines. Beginner's mind knows that every moment is fresh, every step is new, every breath is a chance to start again. You are allowed to be a beginner, even at 30, even at 50, even at 80. You are allowed to bloom late. You are allowed to change directions. You are allowed to take the long way home. Because the soul does not care about calendars. It cares about truth. It cares about depth. It cares about becoming, not arriving. When you stop believing you are behind, you start living in real time. You start noticing the opportunities that are here now, instead of mourning the ones you think you missed. You start opening to the unexpected blessings that only appear when you are not obsessed with being somewhere else. You start trusting that life has not forgotten you, that every step, even the ones that feel aimless, even the ones that feel slow, are carrying you toward a future that is richer, deeper, and more real than anything you could have manufactured through force. Seeing through the illusion of being behind also invites you to treat yourself with more tenderness, to stop pushing yourself with cruelty, to start encouraging yourself the way you would encourage a beloved friend or a small child learning to walk. You would not tell a child who falls that they are a failure. You would not tell a tree in winter that it is worthless. You would not rush the river or shame the seed. You would trust the process. You would trust the seasons. You would trust the unfolding. You are worthy of that same trust. You are worthy of that same kindness. Tonight, as you sink deeper into this remembering, feel the weight of false timelines lifting off your chest. Feel the freedom of stepping out of the race you were never meant to run. Feel the gentle power of returning fully to your own path, your own timing, your own sacred rhythm. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are becoming exactly as you were meant to, slowly, bravely, beautifully, in your own perfect season. And that is more than enough. And now, as the weight of false timelines dissolves and you begin standing firmly on your own sacred ground, another hidden thread becomes visible. It's the way the mind still tries to leap forward, reaching for a future not yet here, craving outcomes not yet born. Tonight, you are going to see that thread clearly, and tonight, you are going to gently untangle yourself from it. There's a subtle hunger that stirs even in the calmest hearts, a quiet reaching that says, "I'll be happy when..." It's so soft, you might not even notice it at first. It hides inside ambition. It wears the mask of hope. But at its core, it's a craving, a tightness that traps you in a future that does not yet exist. And every time you lean too heavily into anticipation, you trade away the richness of now for the promise of someday. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering. And one of the most seductive forms of attachment is anticipation, the belief that your peace, your joy, your worth will finally arrive once a certain outcome happens. It sounds harmless. It even sounds motivating. But underneath it lies a deep dissatisfaction with the present moment, a subtle refusal to fully be here because the mind is so busy bargaining with the future. When you crave future outcomes, you stop living your life. You start living in your mind's projections. You miss the small miracles unfolding right now because you are busy chasing images that haven't even formed yet. You miss the real work, the real love, the real peace that is only ever available here, now. Anticipation whispers lies to you. It says, just a little more, just a little further. Then you can rest. Then you can breathe. Then you can be happy. But no matter how many goals you reach, no matter how many dreams you touch, the craving does not vanish. It simply moves the finish line again and again, keeping true peace forever out of reach. This cycle is endless because it is built on a fundamental misunderstanding. The misunderstanding that fulfillment comes from what happens next, instead of how you meet what is happening now. Buddhist wisdom turns this misunderstanding inside out. It teaches that the quality of your life is not determined by what you achieve or acquire. It is determined by how deeply you are able to show up for this moment, exactly as it is, without needing it to be anything else. When you start to see anticipation for what it is, not inspiration, but attachment, you begin to feel how much it drains your energy, how much it breeds anxiety, impatience, restlessness, how much it clouds your clarity, dims your gratitude, weakens your presence. You begin to notice that anticipation tightens the body. It creates a background hum of tension, a nervous buzzing that never fully allows you to relax. Because when your happiness is always tied to a future outcome, there is always something to be afraid of. The fear it won't happen, the fear it won't be enough even if it does, the fear you'll miss your chance. True freedom comes when you cut this invisible cord, when you stop bargaining with life, when you stop telling yourself, "I will be whole when," and instead start living the truth that you are already whole now, even with dreams still unrealized, even with questions still unanswered. Buddhist practice invites you into this freedom by teaching mindfulness, the art of fully arriving where you are. Mindfulness breaks the addiction to future craving by pulling your attention gently but powerfully back into the richness of this breath, this step, this heartbeat. Mindfulness teaches that the miracle is not around the next corner. It is here, in the way the air feels against your skin, in the way the ground holds your weight, in the way the smallest act of kindness ripples out into the world in ways you will never fully see. When you live without being trapped by anticipation, you still move toward your dreams. You still plant seeds for tomorrow, but you do it without needing tomorrow to validate today. You do it with a kind of lightness, a kind of freedom that says, even if it never comes, I have lived fully, I have loved fully, I have shown up fully. There is a profound joy that blooms when you stop leaning so hard into the future. A joy that rises not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally here to witness the perfection already unfolding. A joy that needs no conditions, no achievements, no promises. When you release anticipation, you reclaim your life. You stop living in the tension between where you are and where you think you should be. You start experiencing the simple, raw beauty of your actual life, not your imagined life, not your someday life, but the life that is breathing through you right now. Buddhism reminds us that the future is always a dream. It does not exist except in the mind. Only now is real. Only now is alive. Only now can nourish you, change you, awaken you. When you find yourself caught in craving, when you feel yourself reaching forward with restless hands, there is no need to judge yourself. Simply notice, simply return, gently, kindly, patiently, again and again, back to now. Each time you do, you untangle yourself a little more from the invisible chains of anticipation. Each time you do, you step a little closer to the freedom that was always waiting beneath the noise of your mind. Living without attachment to future outcomes doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop abandoning yourself for your dreams. It means you start honoring the sacredness of your journey, not just your destination. It means you start asking different questions, not when will I get there, but how can I be fully awake here? Not what's next, but what is this moment asking of me? Not When will it be enough? But how can I live from the truth that it is already enough? This shift changes everything. It transforms ordinary moments into holy ones. It turns patience into power. It turns simplicity into abundance. It turns your life from a race into a living prayer. There is a kind of beauty that only reveals itself when you stop running ahead of yourself. When you stop measuring the value of your days by how much closer they take you to some distant goal. When you start seeing that today, exactly as it is, carries treasures you would miss if you were always rushing toward tomorrow. There is a softness that comes when you let go of needing anything else to happen to justify your joy. A kindness toward yourself and the world. A gentle way of being that welcomes life in all its messy, unpredictable, imperfect brilliance. Tonight, as you let your mind settle and your body rest, allow this truth to find its way into your heart. You do not need to chase the future to find happiness. You do not need to crave outcomes to find meaning. You do not need to wait for some better version of your life to start living fully. The peace you are seeking is already here. The joy you are longing for is already blooming inside this very breath. And when you stop reaching for it, you finally become able to receive it. And now, as the cravings for future outcomes begin to loosen their grip, there is an even more liberating truth waiting to rise within you. A truth so simple and yet so powerful that once it is seen clearly, a lifetime of hidden burdens can finally begin to fall away. Tonight, you will step into that freedom. Tonight, you will remember that life has never been personal. There's a deep ache that grows in the heart when things don't unfold the way you hoped. A question that lingers like a shadow. Why me? It's easy to feel singled out by hardship. It's easy to believe that fate has overlooked you, punished you, forgotten you. But Buddhist wisdom cuts through this heavy illusion with fearless clarity. Life's rhythm is not personal. The universe has no favorites. It also has no enemies. It simply moves by its own timeless laws, flowing without judgment, unfolding without bias. This understanding is not cold. It is not heartless. In fact, it is one of the most healing insights you can ever experience. Because once you realize that life is not targeting you, neither for suffering nor for reward, you are freed from the heavy chains of resentment, self-pity and shame. You are freed to meet life as it is, rather than through the distorted lens of personal injustice. The rains fall on the kind and the cruel alike. The sun rises for the lost and the found. The seasons turn without consulting your plans, without rewarding your virtues or punishing your mistakes. Life moves not according to your deserving, but according to its own ancient, impartial rhythms. When you see this clearly, something inside you softens. You stop taking every setback as an insult. You stop seeing every delay as a punishment. You stop interpreting every loss as a cosmic judgment against your worth. Instead, you begin to meet life with the strength of acceptance. You begin to understand that pain is not proof that you have failed, just as pleasure is not proof that you have succeeded. Both are simply parts of the ever-turning wheel of existence, spinning according to causes and conditions that stretch far beyond your individual story. In Buddhist teachings, this is the wisdom of understanding dependent origination, the realization that everything arises from countless interwoven causes and conditions. Your life, your challenges, your joys, your sorrows, all of it is the result of infinite factors, most of which you will never see or fully understand. It is not personal. It is not a moral verdict. It simply is. This way of seeing frees you from the exhausting need to find meaning in every misfortune. It frees you from the endless, painful questions of, "What did I do wrong?" or "Why am I being punished?" It invites you instead into a deeper, calmer inquiry. Given that this is here, how can I meet it wisely? It shifts your focus from blaming life to dancing with life, from fighting reality to flowing with reality, from demanding that the universe conform to your preferences to learning how to open, how to adapt, how to grow within the reality that actually is. There is a fierce kind of peace that comes when you no longer expect life to favor you, when you no longer waste your energy arguing with reality, when you no longer measure your value by how easy or hard your path appears compared to others. You start to see that life is not a courtroom where blessings are rewards and hardships are punishments. Life is a school. Life is a river. Life is a vast, intricate play of forces and elements that shape and reshape themselves endlessly, often indifferent to human plans, often oblivious to human fairness. And yet, within that indifference, there is a profound beauty. Because it means that no setback defines you, no failure stains you, no delay diminishes you. You are not your circumstances. You are how you meet them. You are the awareness that chooses compassion over bitterness, courage over despair, resilience over resignation. When you stop believing that life is personal, you also stop taking other people's actions so personally. You stop feeling so wounded by their failures to love you perfectly, to see you clearly, to honor you fully. You understand that just as the universe moves according to causes and conditions, so do people. They act from their own histories, their own wounds, their own blindness, not because you are unworthy, but because they are caught in their own unfolding. This seeing gives you space. Space to breathe, space to forgive, space to let go. It doesn't excuse harm or deny responsibility, but it frees you from carrying every slight, every hurt, every disappointment like a stone on your back. You begin to realize that you are not at the center of everyone else's stories, and they are not at the center of yours. Each being is walking their own complex, beautiful, often broken path. Each being is shaped by forces stretching back generations, cultures, lifetimes. This does not make your suffering less real. It does not make your desires less important. But it does place them within a larger, more compassionate frame. A frame where you are allowed to grieve without feeling cursed, allowed to hope without feeling entitled, allowed to live without feeling victimized. You are no longer fighting to prove you deserve good things. You are no longer fearing that you somehow invited bad things. You are simply living, fully, bravely, humbly, in the great web of causes and effects, giving your best to each moment without demanding the universe rearrange itself to fit your plans. This shift also transforms your relationship with gratitude. You stop seeing blessings as rewards you earned. You start seeing them as gifts. Gifts to be cherished, gifts to be shared, gifts to be received with humility rather than pride. You stop tying your self-worth to outcomes. You stop measuring your success by how smooth your road is. You start measuring it by how open your heart remains through all the twists and turns. And perhaps most beautifully, you start finding compassion not just for yourself, but for all beings, every soul struggling through their own unseen battles, every heart carrying hopes and fears just like yours, every life dancing in the same vast, impersonal, magnificent rhythm. When you live this way, there is a lightness that enters your being, a resilience that does not depend on everything going your way, a joy that rises not from getting what you want, but from meeting what comes with wisdom, with strength, with grace. You are no longer a pawn tossed around by fate. You are a participant in a mystery bigger than fairness, bigger than control, bigger than any story the mind could ever tell. Tonight, as you let yourself sink deeper into rest, allow this truth to soften the tight places in you. Life is not against you. Life is not for you. Life simply is. And within that vast, impartial dance, you are free to choose your response, free to offer your kindness, free to move with courage, free to live with a heart wide open. You are part of the rhythm. You are not forgotten by it. You are not separated from it. You are it, and you have always belonged. And now, as the truth settles deeper that life's rhythm is not personal, but universal, something even more tender and powerful comes into view. Beyond the rush and resistance, beyond the victories and setbacks, there is a great wheel always turning. Tonight, you are going to step closer to that wheel. You are going to remember that life is not a straight path, but a series of sacred cycles, cycles that are not here to break you, but to carry you, renew you, and awaken you to a deeper way of being. There's a deep exhaustion that comes when you think life should only move upward, when you believe that success should be permanent, that love should be without loss, that happiness should be unbroken. The mind clings to the good and panics at the bad, always fighting the natural rhythms of existence. But Buddhist wisdom offers a softer, wiser way of seeing. It teaches that life moves through cycles, not by accident, but by necessity, and that trusting these cycles, rather than fearing them, is the secret to real peace. Samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, is not just some abstract cosmic concept. It is happening every day inside your own life. Joy is born, grows bright, fades. Loss arrives, stings deeply, softens. Renewal rises, sometimes unexpectedly, like a fresh wind after a long winter. This is not evidence that something is wrong. This is evidence that you are alive. When you resist these cycles, you suffer twice. First, from the inevitable changes themselves, and then from the belief that those changes are a failure. The truth is, nothing in this world is designed to stay the same. Not your body, not your relationships, not your achievements, not even your own thoughts and feelings. Everything is moving, shifting, dissolving, becoming something new. Trying to hold anything in place forever is like trying to hold water in your hands. It's not a flaw in you that you can't. It's the nature of water to flow. Trusting samsara's cycles means trusting that loss is not the end. It is a doorway. It means trusting that joy is not a promise. It is a gift. It means trusting that renewal is not something you have to manufacture. It is something life naturally brings when the time is right, just as spring naturally follows winter without being forced. When joy comes, Buddhist wisdom invites you to savor it without clinging, to enjoy it fully, like tasting a sweet fruit, knowing that its passing does not diminish its beauty. When loss comes, the teaching is not to pretend it doesn't hurt, but to trust that the pain will not last forever. That grief, too, has its own season and will ripen into new growth in ways you cannot yet see. This trust is not blind. It is built through living the cycles again and again, through seeing that even your hardest winters eventually softened, even your darkest nights eventually gave way to dawn. It is built by realizing that you have survived every loss you thought would break you, that you have found your way back to joy, even after forgetting it was possible. There is a deep humility that grows when you live in harmony with samsara's rhythms. You stop expecting life to conform to your preferences. You stop fighting reality every time it changes. You start flowing with the seasons of your own becoming, understanding that each has its own necessary gifts. Joy teaches you gratitude. Loss teaches you tenderness. Renewal teaches you resilience. Each cycle carves something precious into your soul that could not be learned any other way. When you are in a season of joy, let it fill you without fear. Let it soften your heart, open your hands, widen your vision. Do not cling to it or try to stretch it longer than its natural life. Celebrate it as you would celebrate the bloom of a rare flower, fully, fiercely, without demanding it stay forever. When you are in a season of loss, allow yourself to grieve without judgment. Let the sorrow move through you like rain softening the earth. Do not rush it. Do not shame it. Let it cleanse you, hollow you out in the ways you need to be hollowed, so that renewal has space to enter later. When you are in a season of renewal, move with the energy that rises. Follow the threads of possibility that appear. Trust that new beginnings are not betrayals of what came before, but natural continuations. Let yourself be surprised by your own capacity to begin again. Samsara's cycles are not punishments. They are the dance of life itself, a dance that includes steps of gain and loss, expansion and contraction, birth and death, sorrow and joy. You are not separate from this dance. You are part of it. Every rise and fall in your life is part of the great breathing of existence. When you see this clearly, you stop blaming yourself for things ending. You stop panicking when happiness fades. You stop thinking you have failed just because a chapter closes or a season shifts. You realize that you are not supposed to be permanently in bloom. You are supposed to be alive, fully, deeply, courageously alive through every season. This way of living brings a different kind of strength, a strength that is not brittle, not dependent on everything going your way, a strength that knows how to bend without breaking, how to grieve without losing hope, how to rejoice without grasping. It teaches you to meet each cycle with openness instead of resistance, to bow to the losses as deeply as you celebrate the gains, to trust that nothing is wasted, that every season is shaping you, deepening you, preparing you for the next unfolding. Buddhism reminds us that even the hardest winters have their secret work. Beneath the frozen ground, seeds are gathering strength. Beneath the bare trees, life is resting, readying itself for new growth. In the same way, even when your life feels barren, something essential is being woven beneath the surface. Something you will only understand fully later when the spring inside you stirs again. Trusting samsara's cycles also teaches compassion for others. When you see someone in joy, you celebrate with them without jealousy. When you see someone in loss, you grieve with them without pity. You know that you too have danced through those seasons. You know that all beings are spinning in the same wheel, rising and falling together, learning and unlearning, loving and losing, and loving again. Tonight, as you rest deeper into these truths, let the need to control the seasons of your life melt away. Let the fear of endings soften. Let the craving for perpetual happiness ease its grip. Trust that you are not failing because you are changing. Trust that you are not broken because you are grieving. Trust that you are not lost because you are in a winter season. You are exactly where you need to be in the dance, and life, in its mysterious, merciful rhythm, is still carrying you forward. You are not alone in the cycle. You are not forgotten in the turning. You are the dance itself, beautiful, temporary, eternal. And now, as you begin to trust the eternal turning of samsara's seasons, the rising and falling, the endings and beginnings, a new image begins to rise quietly from within the stillness. An image so ancient, so pure, that it holds the perfect mirror for your own sacred unfolding. Tonight, you will walk slowly into the heart of this symbol. Tonight, you will remember the deep wisdom of the lotus. There's a quiet power hidden in the life of the lotus. Unlike many flowers that burst into bloom quickly, the lotus takes its time. It grows in darkness first, its roots buried deep in mud, unseen by the world. It pushes slowly upward, through thick, murky water, for days, months, sometimes even years. And when it finally breaks the surface, it opens into breathtaking beauty. Not because it rushed, but because it allowed itself to grow at the pace life required. The story of the lotus is the story of every soul. It is the sacred reminder that real growth, real awakening, real strength never happens overnight. It happens slowly, almost invisibly, beneath the surface of things. It happens in the hidden places no one sees. It happens in the seasons of struggle, confusion, and quiet perseverance. Buddhist teachings use the lotus as a symbol of enlightenment, not because it avoids the mud, but because it rises through it. It does not resent the mud. It does not curse the darkness. It uses the very heaviness of the mud to anchor itself. It uses the darkness as protection, the struggle as strengthening. Without the mud, the lotus could never bloom. And without the struggles, without the delays, without the long, silent seasons of unseen growth, neither can you. There is a hidden violence in the modern world's obsession with speed. The constant pressure to have everything figured out quickly, to succeed early, to bloom faster than nature intended. But life, real life, doesn't work that way. True becoming takes time. True unfolding cannot be rushed. The lotus teaches that your growth is not broken just because it is slow. Your healing is not failing just because it is invisible. Your path is not wrong just because it does not look like someone else's timeline. What the world calls delay, the lotus calls preparation. What the world calls failure, the lotus calls foundation. What the world calls stuck, the lotus calls gathering strength. Each day you choose patience over panic, trust over fear, compassion over self-judgment. You are growing, even if you cannot yet see the blossom. Each day you endure the mud without losing heart. You are becoming someone stronger, deeper, wiser. The lotus does not bloom because it wishes harder. It blooms because it stays committed to its path, even when there is no evidence of progress. It trusts the pull of the light above, even when it cannot yet see the sky. And you too are being called to trust the light you cannot always see, to keep growing upward even when everything feels heavy. to keep believing in your own unfolding even when the surface shows no signs of breakthrough. There is a sacredness to slow growth that fast success will never understand. Slow growth weaves resilience into your bones. It teaches you how to weather storms without uprooting. It teaches you how to stay grounded when the winds of change howl around you. Slow blooming prepares you for a deeper kind of joy, the kind that is not dependent on external approval, the kind that cannot be taken away when circumstances shift. It shapes a joy that rises from the core of your being, a joy that belongs to you, not to the world's fleeting rewards. The lotus does not compare itself to the flowers on the shore. It does not resent their different paths. It stays loyal to its own becoming, loyal to the slow miracle taking place deep beneath the surface. It knows that when the time is right, it will rise, not in comparison to others, but in the full truth of what it was always meant to be. Buddhist practice invites you to live with the same fierce loyalty to your own path, to stop measuring your worth by how visible your growth is, to stop doubting your journey just because it is not fast or flashy or understood by everyone around you. Your roots are deepening, your soul is strengthening, your time will come, not because you force it, not because you demand it, but because life has already planted the blueprint of your blooming within you. It is already written in your bones, in your breath, in the secret spaces of your becoming. The lotus reminds you that darkness is not the enemy of light. It is its partner. That struggle is not the enemy of peace. It is its teacher. That slowness is not the enemy of success. It is its foundation. Each hardship you endure with open eyes and open heart fertilizes the soil of your life. Each disappointment you meet with courage becomes another layer of strength within you. Each time you choose hope over despair, kindness over bitterness, faith over fear, you rise, even when you cannot yet feel yourself rising. Trusting the timing of your bloom means trusting that life knows what it is doing with you. It means trusting that the invisible work happening beneath the surface is just as important, maybe even more important, than anything the world can see right now. It means learning to honor the seasons of darkness just as deeply as the seasons of light. To honor the mud just as much as the blossom. To honor the waiting just as much as the arriving. Because the truth is, you are not waiting to become worthy. You are already worthy. You are not waiting to become whole. You are already whole. You are simply uncovering, layer by layer, the fullness that was planted inside you from the beginning. And just like the lotus, you will rise, slowly, quietly, powerfully, not because you forced it, not because you hurried it, but because you trusted the slow, sacred, unstoppable alchemy of your own becoming. Tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, let the rush fall away. Let the comparisons fall away. Let the anxiety about timing fall away. Trust the roots you are growing in the dark. Trust the upward pull that calls you even when you cannot yet see the sky. Trust that you are exactly on time for your own sacred blooming. And when the day comes, and it will come, your unfolding will be all the more beautiful because you honored the time it took. You are not late. You are not lost. You are a lotus, and you are blooming exactly as you were always meant to. And now, as the wisdom of the lotus settles quietly inside you, reminding you that all true growth unfolds in its own perfect time, another layer of freedom comes into view. Because even as you begin to trust your natural blooming, there is still a quieter enemy that must be seen clearly, the restless urgency that tries to steal your peace before it fully roots itself. Tonight, you are going to step beyond that urgency. Tonight, you will reclaim the clear vision that has always been yours. There's a tension that lives just beneath the surface of so many lives, a hum of pressure that whispers, "Hurry, hurry, hurry." It does not matter how much you have accomplished. It does not matter how far you have come. Still, urgency buzzes in your ears, driving you faster, harder, pushing you to do more, be more, achieve more, as if peace is somewhere far ahead and the only way to reach it is to run faster. Buddhist wisdom teaches that this urgency is one of the great thieves of life. It steals your ability to see clearly. It clouds your inner vision. It tricks you into believing that your life is a series of emergencies, one after another, none of which you can afford to miss or fail. And in the process, it robs you of the very stillness you most need to navigate your true path. Urgency is not the same as importance. It is not the same as passion. There are things in life that call for decisive action, deep care, fierce commitment. But urgency is something else entirely. Urgency is fear wearing the mask of necessity. Urgency is the mind's panic, trying to outrun its own discomfort, trying to control the uncontrollable, trying to force certainty where none can exist. When you live under the spell of urgency, your mind never rests, your heart never fully opens, your spirit never settles deep enough to hear the quiet voice of wisdom that only speaks in stillness. You move faster, but you see less. You work harder, but you live less. Urgency shrinks your world. It narrows your vision to the next task, the next goal, the next threat. It cuts you off from the wider, deeper flow of life that cannot be rushed, no matter how loud your fears shout. Detaching from urgency does not mean becoming lazy. It does not mean giving up your dreams. It means learning to move from clarity, not panic. It means learning to act from presence, not pressure. It means learning to trust that what is truly yours cannot be lost by slowing down enough to move wisely. When you step out of urgency, something miraculous happens. Your vision clears. You start seeing the opportunities you missed when you were rushing. You start hearing the guidance that urgency drowns out. You start noticing the small, sacred clues life has been offering all along, the ones that were invisible in the blur of hurry. Buddhist practice teaches the power of pausing, the power of taking a breath before reacting, the power of creating even the smallest space between stimulus and response. Because it is in that space that freedom lives. It is in that space that wisdom has a chance to enter. Urgency makes everything feel like life or death. Pausing reminds you that most things are not. Pausing reminds you that you have time. Time to breathe, time to reflect, time to choose your next step instead of being driven by fear. The mind, when trapped in urgency, believes that speed equals survival. But the heart knows better. The heart knows that survival without peace is not really survival at all. The heart knows that rushing through life is not the same as living it. There is a deeper pace available to you, always waiting beneath the noise, a pace that honors the natural rhythms of your body, your mind, your spirit. A pace that lets you meet each moment fully without leaning frantically into the next. Detaching from urgency means choosing to trust that you are not missing your life, by slowing down. You are finding it. It means choosing to believe that you are not falling behind by moving at the speed of wisdom instead of the speed of fear. It means learning to see that very few real decisions need to be made in a panic, that most real problems are better solved from calm than from chaos, that the best actions come not from the pressure to move quickly, but from the clarity that comes when you move consciously. Urgency is a habit reinforced by culture, by fear, by the aching desire to be safe, to be certain, to be in control. But like all habits, it can be unlearned, slowly, patiently, with practice. Each time you feel the surge of hurry rising in you, you have a choice. You can ride it blindly, letting it sweep you into reflexive action. Or you can pause. You can take one deep breath. You can ask yourself, is this true urgency or is this fear? You can listen for the deeper current beneath the surface panic. You can choose to respond from that deeper place. This choice, made again and again, rewires your entire being. It teaches your nervous system that you are safe even when you are not rushing. It teaches your mind that you are capable even when you are not frantically problem-solving. It teaches your heart that it is trustworthy even when the future is uncertain. The more you practice stepping out of urgency, the more life opens to you. You notice that you make better decisions when you are calm. You notice that you enjoy your work more when you are not racing through it. You notice that your relationships deepen when you are fully present instead of half distracted by the next thing. You start to see that urgency was never a measure of importance. It was only a measure of fear. And once the fear loosens, you are free to move, not faster, but truer. There is a quiet joy that rises when you move this way, a joy that comes not from achieving more, but from being fully alive in what you are already doing. A joy that is not contingent on outcomes, but born from the quality of your presence. Buddhist teachers often speak of the rush to nowhere, the tragic comedy of spending a lifetime hurrying toward a destination that turns out to have been right here all along. Detaching from urgency means refusing to live that tragedy. It means waking up now, here, inside your real life. It means trusting that you are not falling behind when you honor the deeper timing of your own soul. It means trusting that peace is not something you earn by running hard enough. It is something you allow by stopping long enough to receive it. Tonight, as you let your body soften and your mind settle, feel the old urgency melting away. Feel the breath widening in your chest, the heart opening in your ribs, the spirit resting deeper into the truth. You have time, you have space. You have the right to meet your life at the pace of wisdom, not fear. You are not late. You are not failing. You are already inside the life you were meant to live. Not once you get there, but right here, in the sacred unfolding of now. Let urgency fall away like an old skin. Let clarity rise like a quiet sun. And let yourself walk, not run, into the next beautiful step of your journey. And now, as the weight of urgency falls away and your heart starts to beat again in the rhythm of presence rather than pressure, an even subtler freedom begins to emerge. Because even after stepping beyond urgency, there is still one last thread that often keeps the soul tangled. The mind's constant need to plan, control, and schedule every step of your unfolding. Tonight, you are going to step beyond even that. Tonight, you are going to remember the vastness, that was always there before the mind tried to map it all out. There's a quiet, exhausting pressure that lives in the human mind, a constant ticking, a silent drumbeat of plans, deadlines, future maps. It is not always loud. Sometimes it is a soft undercurrent, barely noticed. A whisper saying, "You need to be somewhere else. You need to be someone else. You need to be further along." The mind loves scheduling because it craves certainty. It craves a straight line it can follow, a clear checklist it can complete. It wants life to be like a train timetable, predictable, controllable, understandable. And when life refuses to conform, when seasons stretch longer than expected, when doors close unexpectedly, when changes come without warning, the mind panics. It panics not because life has betrayed you. It panics because life has refused to fit inside the mind's small, rigid map. Buddhist teachings invite you to see this clearly, not with judgment, but with compassion. The mind is not evil. It is trying to protect you in the only way it knows how, by trying to control time itself. But no amount of planning, no amount of mental scheduling can change the ancient truth that life moves by its own mysterious wisdom, not by the mind's charts. Trying to control the timing of life through mental scheduling is like trying to hold back the tide with a paper wall. It does not matter how intricate your plans are. The tide will come when it comes. The seasons will turn when they turn. The blooming, the withering, the arriving, the leaving. All of it will happen according to a deeper intelligence that has nothing to do with human anxiety. Surrendering the mind's scheduling does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean giving up your dreams or abandoning your goals. It means releasing the false belief that your mind alone can dictate when and how life should unfold. It means moving from a deeper, wider trust, one that listens not just to the calendar or the clock, but to the pulse of life itself. There is a deeper timing that does not live in your mind. It lives in your breath. It lives in your bones. It lives in the seasons of your own soul. Sometimes you are meant to move fast. Sometimes you are meant to move slowly. Sometimes you are meant to rest longer than you think you should. Sometimes you are meant to leap before you feel ready. The mind's schedules cannot predict these things. They cannot contain the mystery of your becoming. They can only create expectations that, when unmet, lead to disappointment, frustration, self-blame. When you surrender the mind's constant scheduling, you make space for something more real to guide you: intuition, presence, alignment, soul. You stop forcing yourself into timelines that were never meant for you. You start flowing with the deeper tides of your own life. This surrender is not always easy. The mind will resist. It will tell you that if you do not plan every step, you will fail. It will whisper that without constant scheduling, you will miss your destiny. But Buddhist wisdom reminds you that your destiny is not something you can miss by moving at the wrong speed. It is woven into the fabric of your being. It unfolds through your living, not through your planning. You are not here to live according to a rigid schedule written by fear. You are here to move in the rhythms of truth, love, and courage. Rhythms that often defy neat timelines, but always lead you exactly where you need to go. Each time you feel the mind tightening around a plan, trying to trap life into a fixed shape, you have a choice. You can tighten with it, or you can breathe. You can step back into the vastness. You can trust that life's timing is not something you create. It is something you listen to, something you respond to, something you honor. There is a deep intelligence flowing through your life right now, even in the places that seem stagnant or confusing. There is a current carrying you, even when you feel adrift. The mind may not see it, the mind may not understand it, but you can feel it, in your quiet knowing, in your soft instincts, in the pull that rises when you are brave enough to be still. When you move beyond the mind's scheduling, you also move beyond the need to rush decisions. You realize that clarity comes not from thinking harder, but from waiting for the inner waters to settle. You realize that timing is not just about dates and deadlines, but about readiness, readiness that cannot be forced, only allowed. You start living from trust rather than fear. You start acting not because you are desperate to stay on schedule, but because something real has ripened within you, something you can feel, something you can follow without needing to explain it to the mind's endless questioning. This way of living brings a different kind of success. A success measured not by how many goals you checked off, but by how fully you inhabited each step. A success measured by how deeply you stayed connected to your own soul through every twist and turn. You realize that many of the greatest things in your life, the unexpected friendships, the sudden breakthroughs, the quiet moments of awe, came not from your plans, but from the spaces where your plans fell away. You realize that the life your mind wanted to schedule was smaller than the life your soul is trying to live. Buddhist practice often speaks of non-grasping, the art of holding life lightly, letting it come and go without clinging or forcing. This includes the art of letting go of your timelines, your calendars, your imagined milestones. It means meeting life with open hands instead of clenched fists. It means trusting that even when you do not know what is coming next, you are not lost. You are exactly inside the unfolding you need. Tonight, as you allow yourself to rest deeper, let the mind's endless scheduling soften. Let the plans dissolve like mist. Let the need to control every step fade into the quiet, knowing that you are already on the path, even when you cannot see around the bend. You are not late. You are not early. You are not off track. You are right here, right now, inside the mystery you were always meant to live. The mind's maps will never be large enough to hold the full beauty of your journey. But your heart can hold it. Your breath can hold it. Your soul already holds it. Trust that. Move from that, and let life surprise you with the gifts it has been carrying toward you all along. And now, as you begin to feel the freedom of moving beyond the mind's endless scheduling, something even gentler begins to call you. A different rhythm, a deeper pace, one that asks nothing of you but your willingness to trust and be present. Tonight, you are going to enter that sacred space. Tonight, you will remember that not only is rushing unnecessary, but the very act of slowing down is a doorway into wisdom itself. There's a tenderness that rises when you stop trying to force life into a faster bloom, a softness that comes when you realize you were never meant to drag yourself forward with clenched teeth and tight fists. Sacred slowness is not laziness, it is not stagnation, it is the natural rhythm of things that truly last, truly matter, truly heal. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true growth, true wisdom, true love all move at the speed of life, not the speed of human expectation. The tree does not rush its roots deeper. The ocean does not rush its tides. The stars do not hurry across the sky, and neither must you. Sacred slowness is the recognition that some of the most important transformations happen too slowly to measure day by day. It is the faith that just because you cannot always see the growth, it does not mean it is not happening. It is the trust that patience is not wasting time. It is preparing you to fully receive what is ripening inside you. The mind, conditioned by a world obsessed with speed, often mistakes slowness for failure. It believes that if something isn't happening fast enough, it must not be working. But Buddhist teachings remind us that life unfolds at the exact speed necessary for true understanding to take root. Forcing life to move faster than it naturally would only creates suffering. It is like trying to pry open a bud with your hands, only to damage the flower you were so eager to see. Sacred slowness asks you to become the kind of person who can wait without losing heart, who can stay present through the unseen seasons, who can trust that life ripens all things in perfect time. Every meaningful journey carries periods where nothing seems to be happening on the surface. These are not dead times. They are sacred times, times when the roots are deepening, the soil is being nourished, the foundations are being strengthened. Without these hidden seasons, there would be no stability when the growth finally bursts into view. Sacred slowness teaches you to honor the space between where you are and where you long to be. To live fully in the in-between, not as a punishment, but as a gift. To see that your becoming is not only happening at the destination, it is happening now, in the waiting, in the trusting, in the quiet work of being faithful to your own unfolding. There is a kind of beauty that only slowness can reveal. The beauty of noticing the smallest changes, the beauty of savoring each step instead of rushing past it. The beauty of realizing that you are already living inside the miracle you were once rushing toward. In the practice of mindfulness, slowness is a gateway to depth. It is through slowing down that you begin to actually taste your food, hear the nuances in a loved one's voice, feel the texture of the moment brushing against your skin. It is through slowness that you begin to inhabit your own life, rather than merely passing through it on the way to somewhere else. Sacred slowness also invites you to meet your own heart with greater compassion, to understand that healing, forgiveness, understanding, all these things unfold layer by layer, not by command, but by quiet consent. They cannot be forced by willpower. They can only be invited by gentleness, nurtured by patience, honored with time. There is a kind of strength that grows when you no longer demand instant results from yourself. A strength rooted not in the frantic energy of achievement, but in the quiet, steady power of perseverance. A strength that knows how to stay soft without collapsing, how to stay open without needing to control. Sacred slowness shifts your relationship with success. You begin to see success not as a race you win, but as a life you fully live. You begin to realize that the richest lives are often built not in sudden leaps, but in small, consistent acts of love, presence, courage, and faith. You realize that the moments that shape you most are rarely the dramatic victories. They are the quiet decisions to stay true to your values, to keep showing up, to keep believing even when nothing visible seems to be changing. Sacred slowness teaches you that the journey itself is not a delay. It is the blessing. It is not the thing you have to endure to get to where you are going. It is the place where your soul grows strong enough, wise enough, compassionate enough to carry the gifts you are meant to bring into the world. Every season of apparent stillness is secretly full of life. Every delay is secretly full of preparation. Every moment of waiting is secretly full of the deep work of becoming. When you honor sacred slowness, you stop asking, "How fast can I get there?" And you start asking, "How deeply can I live this step?" You stop asking, "When will this be over?" And you start asking, "What is life offering me right now?" This shift changes everything. It turns obstacles into teachers. It turns waiting into wisdom. It turns delays into doorways. Sacred slowness also heals your relationship with others. You begin to give them the space to grow at their own pace, without judgment, without pressure. You begin to see that every soul has its own rhythm, and that honoring another's timing is one of the deepest forms of love. You stop trying to fix people. You stop trying to rush their journeys. You become the kind of presence that trusts their unfolding as deeply as you are learning to trust your own. And in that trust, relationships deepen, love strengthens, compassion expands. Because no one feels truly loved when they are being hurried. Love blooms in patience, in space, in the sacred slowness of shared becoming. Tonight, as you let your breath slow down and your body soften into the bed that holds you, let the pressure to move faster dissolve into the air around you. You have time. You are allowed to move at the speed of your own soul. You are allowed to ripen slowly, beautifully, courageously. Life is not asking you to hurry. Life is asking you to trust the mud, the roots, the dark, the slow climb toward the light. And when you do, you will find that you have not been falling behind at all. You have been right on time for a becoming so beautiful, so sacred, so real. It could only bloom in slowness. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not failing. You are ripening. And life, in its infinite patience, is ripening with you. And now, as you begin to feel the power of moving with life's sacred slowness instead of forcing it, there is another layer waiting to be uncovered. A quieter wisdom, a softer but even deeper truth. Because sometimes even slowness is not enough. Sometimes life invites you into something even more radical, a time of complete stillness, a phase where no action is needed, no movement is asked for, no visible progress can be made. Tonight, you are going to enter that rare space. Tonight, you will learn how silence can sometimes speak louder than action. There's an uneasiness that rises when everything inside you tells you to act, but life gives no clear direction. A restless voice that says, "Do something, fix it, move it forward, make it happen." It feels unnatural to sit still when the world worships action. It feels wrong to be silent when the mind equates silence with failure. But Buddhist teachings offer a different way of seeing, a way that honors the wisdom of the non-doing phases. Life is not always asking for action. Sometimes it is asking for stillness. Sometimes it is not a season for building or achieving or pushing ahead. It is a season for listening, for resting, for allowing something deeper than your own willpower to move you when the time is right. When you honor these non-doing phases, you step into alignment with a deeper current. You stop struggling against the natural pauses built into every journey. You stop making yourself wrong for needing rest, needing space, needing time to simply be. The mind often cannot understand this. The mind craves constant evidence of progress. It wants to see movement, results, clear signs that something is happening. But much of the real growth in your life happens quietly, invisibly, without any outward signs. The tree does not grow taller every day. Some days, all the energy is drawn inward, strengthening the roots. Some seasons, the branches are bare, not because the tree is dead, but because it is gathering itself for the next great bloom. You are no different. There are times in your life when no matter how much effort you make, the soil will not produce. The doors will not open. The tides will not rise. It is not because you are cursed. It is not because you are lazy. It is not because you are doing life wrong. It is because you are in a non-doing phase. A phase where silence is the teacher. A phase where stillness is the medicine. Buddhism teaches that clinging, even to action, even to progress, is a cause of suffering. Letting go means trusting that your value is not dependent on your productivity. Letting go means trusting that sometimes doing nothing on the outside is exactly what is needed to allow the deeper movements to happen inside. Non-doing is not the same as avoidance. It is not the same as paralysis. It is not giving up. It is a conscious, courageous choice to wait without rushing, to be still without self-punishment, to honor the unseen seasons of your soul with as much reverence as you honor the busy seasons. When you surrender to these phases, you discover an unexpected gift, the gift of deeper listening, the gift of hearing the subtle whispers of your intuition that are drowned out by constant motion, the gift of reconnecting with yourself not as a machine that produces outcomes, but as a living, breathing mystery unfolding in its own perfect way. You realize that silence has its own language, that stillness has its own wisdom, that sometimes what you most need to know, most need to understand, most need to become, can only be found when you stop doing and start being. There is a trust required here that goes beyond the trust needed for slowness. It is the trust that you are not losing your way by standing still. It is the trust that life knows how to carry you forward when it is time, and that no amount of panic or pushing can make the seasons change before their hour. When you live this way, you start to see non-doing not as a waste of time, but as sacred time. You start to feel the richness of simply being alive without needing to perform, achieve, or prove anything. You start to notice the small things, the breath rising and falling, the light shifting on the wall, the quiet pulsing of life around you, things that are invisible when you are moving too fast, too loudly, too urgently. You start to see that some of the most important shifts in your soul happen when you appear to be doing nothing at all. In Buddhist practice, there is great reverence for the stillness between actions, the space between breaths, the silence between sounds. Because it is in those spaces that true insight can arise. It is in those spaces that life speaks most clearly, most gently, most truly. When you stop fearing silence, you start hearing the music inside it. When you stop fearing stillness, you start feeling the pulse of life that never stops flowing, even when you do not move. You begin to understand that action without alignment is emptiness, that movement without clarity is noise, that sometimes the greatest wisdom is not found in doing more, but in pausing long enough to see what truly needs to be done and what can be released. You realize that the world's constant demand for action is not a call to truth. It is a call to exhaustion. It is a call to forgetfulness. It is a call to live at the surface rather than diving into the depths. But you were not born for exhaustion. You were not born for forgetfulness. You were not born to live only at the surface. You were born for depth, You were born for wisdom. You were born for the quiet courage of honoring all the seasons of your life, the doing and the non-doing alike. Tonight, as you allow yourself to settle even deeper into rest, let go of the pressure to act. Let go of the pressure to solve everything, fix everything, move everything forward. Allow yourself to be held by the silence. Allow yourself to be taught by the stillness. Allow yourself to trust that you are not falling behind simply because you are not moving. You are not failing because you are resting. You are not weak because you are still. You are not broken because you are waiting. You are living. You are listening. You are aligning with a wisdom bigger than your plans, bigger than your fears, bigger than your mind. And in the perfect time, when the soil is ready, when the light is right, when the deeper currents call you, you will rise again, not out of panic, but out of deep, sacred knowing. You will move again, not because you are running from stillness, but because you are being carried by truth. And that movement, born of silence, born of trust, will be more powerful, more true, more alive than anything forced by fear. You are not lost in the stillness. You are being found. And now, as you begin to trust the great silence that shapes life beneath the noise, a new layer of understanding opens. Because not every lesson comes through loud storms or earth-shaking revelations. Some of the greatest awakenings come quietly, hidden inside what feels like small delays, tiny inconveniences, insignificant setbacks. Tonight, you will learn to see these moments not as obstacles, but as sacred teachers. Tonight, you will discover that in the pauses you once cursed, your deepest Dharma is already unfolding. There's a subtle frustration that rises when life doesn't move at the pace you want it to. A small irritation when plans get disrupted, when answers take longer to arrive, when tiny roadblocks slow you down. It's easy to dismiss these moments as annoying accidents. It's easy to believe that only the big events matter, that only obvious milestones carry real lessons. But Buddhist wisdom offers a different lens. It teaches that everything in life, including the tiniest delay, carries meaning if you are willing to listen. Small setbacks are often treated like background noise, barely worth noticing except to be rushed through, fixed, or resented. But underneath every minor delay is a doorway into patience, a doorway into humility, a doorway into letting go of control just a little bit more, a doorway into the kind of growth that is too quiet, too soft, to force itself into your awareness unless you choose to see it. When you treat small delays with mindfulness, you begin to see that they are not random interruptions. They are invitations. Invitations to slow down. Invitations to deepen. Invitations to look again, to feel again, to trust again. The wisdom of Dharma teaches that nothing is wasted. No moment, no obstacle, no pause is outside the reach of your soul's learning. Even the detours that seem meaningless are shaping you in ways that will one day reveal themselves when you least expect it. Maybe the traffic jam that frustrated you is actually protecting you from an accident you'll never know about. Maybe the rejection you felt yesterday is rerouting you towards something better you would have otherwise missed. Maybe the small delay that feels so inconvenient right now is quietly training your spirit in patience, resilience, surrender, qualities you will desperately need for the road ahead. There are no wasted delays in a life lived with awareness. Every moment is part of the curriculum. Every setback carries seeds of transformation, not because the universe is testing you, but because life is always offering you new ways to grow deeper, softer, wiser. When you stop rushing through small setbacks, you start hearing their quiet teachings. You start noticing how quickly the mind wants to tighten, to resist, to complain. You start seeing the places where you are still clinging to control, still needing life to bow to your timetable. And in that noticing, you are offered a choice. The choice to soften instead of harden, to breathe instead of rush, to surrender instead of fight. This choice, made again and again in the smallest moments, slowly reshapes your entire way of being. You become less reactive, more grounded, less frantic, more patient, less focused on controlling outcomes, more open to trusting the flow. You begin to see that the real path is not found only in the grand moments of triumph or transformation. It is woven through the 1,000 small choices you make every day. The choice to stay kind when plans fall apart. The choice to stay curious when things don't go your way. The choice to meet inconvenience with grace instead of anger. These small choices build a kind of invisible strength, a kind of quiet mastery, a kind of inner richness that no external success can replace. And over time, you realize that the small delays you once despised were actually some of your greatest teachers. That they taught you what no achievement, no award, no smooth path ever could. How to live with an open heart in an unpredictable world. There is a kind of freedom that grows when you stop needing everything to happen on your schedule. A freedom born from realizing that your peace does not depend on life's cooperation. It depends on your willingness to dance with whatever life brings, however and whenever it brings it. This freedom is not theoretical. It shows up in the way your shoulders relax when plans change, in the way your voice softens when things go wrong, in the way your heart stays open even when the road twists unexpectedly. It shows up in the way you meet the minor delays of life, not with resentment, but with a deep, quiet trust that even this too belongs. Even this too is shaping you. Buddhist teachings often remind us that the small moments are the big moments, that awakening does not come all at once in a flash of light. It comes through steady, patient living, through paying attention, through meeting each moment with presence, no matter how ordinary it seems. Small delays train you in exactly this kind of attention. They break the spell of your autopilot rushing. They pull you back into your body, your breath, your senses. They remind you that life is not happening later when everything goes smoothly. Life is happening now, even in the unexpected detours. Each time you accept a delay without hardening your heart, you polish the mirror of your soul. Each time you stay soft in the face of frustration, you deepen your capacity for love. Each time you choose trust over panic, you anchor yourself more firmly in the timeless rhythms of being. Over time, this way of living transforms you. You become someone who is not easily thrown by life's twists. Someone who can find beauty in broken plans. Someone who can find peace in unfinished journeys. You stop measuring your days by how efficiently they unfold. You start measuring them by how deeply you were able to stay connected to yourself, to others, to the sacred mystery pulsing through all things. And perhaps most beautifully, you begin to trust yourself. Trust that you do not need life to go perfectly for you to thrive. Trust that you can meet whatever comes with grace. Trust that you can be faithful to your own unfolding, even when the path is unclear. Tonight, as you allow yourself to drift deeper into rest, let the small frustrations, the tiny delays, the minor setbacks of the day soften in your mind. Let them lose their sharpness. Let them reveal their hidden gifts. You are not off course because things didn't go according to plan. You are not being punished because delays appeared. You are being invited into a deeper relationship with trust, with patience, with peace. You are being taught how to live, not only when everything is smooth, but also when nothing goes as expected. And in learning this, you are growing into someone unshakable, someone grounded, someone free. Because in the end, the real path was never about avoiding delays. It was about becoming the kind of soul who can see the sacred hidden within them. You are not stuck. You are not failing. You are ripening, one sacred, surprising, beautiful moment at a time. And now, as you begin to see the sacred gifts hidden even inside life's smallest delays, there's one more shadow to turn toward. A quieter fear that sneaks in just when peace begins to settle. A voice that says, "What if I'm missing something better? What if there's something out there I should be chasing?" Tonight, you will shine a gentle light on that voice. Tonight, you will see clearly that what you fear you are missing was never more precious than what you already hold. There's a restlessness that stirs when the mind believes happiness is happening somewhere else. A tug in the heart that says, over there, not here. Later, not now. Somewhere else, with someone else, doing something else. That's where real life is. This restless longing, known today as FOMO, has become a silent epidemic. But Buddhist wisdom knew it long before it had a name. It recognized this craving for what it is, a mirage that drains the soul. The fear of missing out is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding. The belief that fulfillment is something fragile and external, easily lost if you are not always moving, always chasing, always grabbing at every opportunity. It tells you that every choice closes 100 other doors. It whispers that your peace is fragile, that your joy is conditional, that your life is only meaningful if you are everywhere, doing everything all at once. But the truth is far gentler, far freer. The truth is that what is meant for you cannot be missed. The truth is that no matter how many paths you do not take, the right lessons, the right blessings, the right unfoldings will always find you, not through frantic chasing, but through presence, through being deeply rooted where you are. When you live under the spell of FOMO, you are never fully alive in your own life. Part of you is always somewhere else, second-guessing your choices, measuring your moments against imagined possibilities. You can be sitting in a beautiful room with people who love you and still feel anxious about a party you're not at, a trip you're not taking, an opportunity you might be missing. This restlessness is not your fault. It is the natural result of a culture that worships endless options, endless updates, endless comparison. A culture that teaches you to measure your life not by depth, but by breadth, not by the richness of your roots, but by the number of branches you can grab at once. Buddhism offers a healing counter-teaching. It reminds you that depth is greater than breadth, that presence is greater than possibility, that being fully where you are is infinitely more powerful than worrying about where else you could be. When you understand this, you begin to loosen the grip of FOMO. You begin to realize that no experience is inherently better than another. that the magic of life is not stored in external events, but in the quality of awareness you bring to them. That a simple conversation held with full attention can be more transformative than 1,000 glamorous adventures lived half-present. You begin to see that missing out is an illusion because you are always where your soul most needs to be, even when it feels boring, even when it feels ordinary, even when it feels like life is happening somewhere else. Because life is not something happening to other people while you watch. Life is happening in your breath, in your gaze, in your touch, in your simple, unglamorous, irreplaceable existence right now. Each moment you fully inhabit is a victory over the lie of FOMO. Each time you choose to be here, not fantasizing about there, you reclaim your life from the hunger that would otherwise devour it. The practice of mindfulness, paying full attention to the present moment, is the antidote to FOMO. Because when you are truly present, nothing feels missing. When you are truly present, life feels whole, even if it is quiet, even if it is simple. Mindfulness trains the mind to stop chasing the next thing, the next high, the next validation. It teaches you to find richness in the sound of the rain outside your window, in the weight of your body resting on the bed, in the breath that rises and falls without your effort. It shows you that you do not need to be somewhere else to feel alive. You only need to be more deeply here. When you release FOMO, you also release the burden of needing to maximize every experience, needing to optimize every opportunity. You stop seeing life as a series of transactions. Was this worth it? Could I have chosen better? And you start seeing it as a living, breathing mystery, unfolding perfectly at its own pace. You start trusting that even the quieter seasons of your life, the seasons without big events or flashy milestones, are not wasted time. They are necessary time. They are the spaces where your roots grow deeper, your soul grows wiser, your heart grows stronger. You stop needing every moment to be exciting, to believe it is sacred. You stop needing every experience to be extraordinary, to believe it is meaningful. You begin to understand that life's depth is not measured by how much you accumulate, but by how deeply you engage with whatever is already before you. And, in this way, the very moments you once feared were less. The quiet evenings, the missed parties, the ordinary days become your greatest treasures, because they were the places where you finally learned to be fully alive. When you choose presence over chasing, something remarkable happens. The ache of missing out begins to dissolve. The restless hunger softens. You no longer feel torn between 1,000 lives you are not living. You feel rooted, anchored, at peace inside the one life you are. You start creating memories that are not about checking off experiences, but about sinking into them. You start building a life that is rich, not in photographs, but in real, lived soulfulness. You start realizing that true richness is not found in doing everything. It is found in doing fewer things with more heart, more presence, more love. And perhaps most beautifully, you start to see that you were never missing out at all, that the treasure was never out there. It was here, within you, waiting to be seen, felt, honored. Tonight, as you breathe deeper and soften into rest, let go of the anxious pull toward elsewhere. Let go of the fantasy that the best parts of life are happening beyond your reach. You are not behind. You are not missing your life. You are living it, beautifully, imperfectly, fully, even in this quiet moment. Trust that what is meant for you cannot pass you by. Trust that your soul's journey is unfolding perfectly, even if you cannot yet see all the turns. Trust that your deepest joy will come not from chasing life, but from embracing it, one simple, sacred breath at a time. You are not missing anything. You are arriving right here, right now, exactly where you are meant to be. And now, as the hunger to be everywhere and have everything slowly dissolves into the peace of being exactly where you are, there is another deeper truth ready to unfold. Because even when you let go of chasing, even when you settle into presence, life sometimes does something even more radical. It halts. It brings everything to a standstill, and in those moments, it can feel like you are stuck. But tonight, you are going to see the hidden mercy inside these pauses. Tonight, you will understand why sometimes life has to slow everything down so your soul can finally catch up. There's a fear that creeps in when momentum stops, a quiet panic that says, "Nothing is moving. I must be doing something wrong. I must have lost my way." It is easy to believe that forward motion is proof of progress. It is easy to believe that stillness is failure. But Buddhist wisdom invites you to see it differently, to see that the pauses are not punishments, they are part of the rhythm of becoming. When life halts, it is not because you have fallen out of favor, it is not because you have been forgotten, it is because something inside you needs time to settle, to realign, to deepen before the next steps can be taken. It is because there are parts of you, tired parts, lost parts, broken parts, that need space to breathe and mend before you can carry the weight of what comes next. Growth is not always a straight line. Sometimes it is a spiral. Sometimes it is a still pool gathering strength before it overflows into movement again. Sometimes it is a sacred pause where everything that matters most is happening out of sight. When you resist these pauses, you miss their gifts. You stay trapped in the mind's belief that movement is always better than stillness. You stay trapped in anxiety, measuring your worth by how busy you are, how visible your progress appears. But when you trust the pauses, you enter into a deeper relationship with life. You learn to rest inside the spaces where nothing seems to be happening. You learn to listen for the quiet voices within you that only speak when the noise of ambition fades away. These pauses are sacred because they invite you back into yourself. They give you a chance to see the places where you have been moving too fast to heal. They give you a chance to recognize the small, beautiful changes unfolding beneath the surface. They give you a chance to become ready, not in the mind's sense of readiness, but in the soul's. In Buddhist practice, there is a deep respect for the fertile void, the space between death and rebirth, between ending and beginning, between letting go and receiving. These spaces are not empty. They are pregnant with transformation. They are rich with unseen shifts. They are the soil in which your next season is already being planted. When life halts you, it is often because something inside you needs to be gathered back together. Pieces that have been scattered by busyness, by striving, by the constant reaching for the next thing. When you are forced to stop, you are given the chance to call those pieces home, to rest, to integrate, to heal. There is a kind of wisdom that can only arise in the pause, a kind of self-knowledge that cannot be found when you are moving too quickly. It is in the silence that you hear the truths you were too busy to face. It is in the stillness that you remember what really matters, what really lasts, what is truly worth your precious, finite energy. Trusting the pause means trusting that life knows when you are ready for the next chapter better than your mind does. It means trusting that no opportunity meant for you will pass you by just because you are resting. It means trusting that your soul's unfolding cannot be rushed, and that real readiness cannot be faked. You are not being left behind in the pause. You are being invited deeper. You are being given a chance to root down before you rise up again. You are being given a chance to shed the layers that no longer fit. You are being given a chance to rediscover yourself outside of all the striving, outside of all the doing, outside of all the needing to prove. This kind of trust is not easy. It asks you to sit with discomfort. It asks you to hold space for uncertainty. It asks you to find peace without guarantees, without visible progress, without external validation. But it also offers you something priceless in return: the deep, steady knowing that your worth was never tied to your speed, that your value was never dependent on your productivity, that your place in the great unfolding of life is secure, even when you are standing still. When you embrace the pause, you stop trying to manufacture growth. You start allowing it. You stop trying to muscle your way into transformation. You start trusting that life is doing its work within you, even when you cannot see or measure it. You start noticing the small ways your soul is mending, the subtle shifts in your thoughts, the softening of your judgments, the deepening of your compassion for yourself and others. You start honoring the truth that some seasons are for planting, some are for tending, and some are simply for resting. You start realizing that pausing is not an interruption of your journey. It is part of the journey, a necessary, sacred part. Each breath you take inside the pause is a prayer of trust. Each moment you resist the urge to rush back into action is a declaration of faith. Each time you choose presence over panic, you deepen your roots a little further into the unshakable ground of being. Tonight, as you allow yourself to rest even deeper, let go of the need to move. Let go of the pressure to figure it all out. Let go of the fear that nothing is happening. Something is happening, something real, something profound. You are catching up to yourself. You are gathering the scattered pieces. You are becoming ready for the life that is waiting for you, not by force, not by striving, but by surrendering, by trusting, by allowing. You are not stuck. You are not lost. You are not failing. You are pausing, beautifully, bravely, wisely. And in that sacred pause, the seeds of your next becoming are already stirring. And now, as you settle into the sacred pause and allow yourself to trust that stillness itself is part of the journey, a softer but even deeper reassurance begins to emerge. Because even when life halts, even when dreams seem distant, even when plans slip through your hands like water, something inside you needs to remember this: nothing real is ever truly lost. Tonight, you will step into the heart of that truth. Tonight, you will find peace, not by rushing forward, but by realizing you already carry everything you need within you. There's a quiet grief that rises when dreams are delayed, a heaviness that says, maybe it's too late, maybe it's gone forever, maybe all the effort, all the hope was wasted. It is so easy to believe that if something doesn't happen on your timeline, it has vanished beyond your reach. It is so easy to believe that delay is the same as defeat. But Buddhist wisdom invites you to look deeper, to see that in this vast, mysterious unfolding of life, nothing meaningful is ever wasted. Nothing real is ever lost. Every effort, every longing, every quiet seed planted in faith is held safely, nurtured, and allowed to ripen in its own time. When dreams delay, it is not a cancellation. It is often a preparation. It is life making space for the dream to grow stronger roots. It is life weaving together invisible threads that will one day bring you not just the dream you wanted, but the soul you needed to become in order to receive it fully. You may not see all the ways life is working for you when delays stretch longer than you hoped. You may not see how every heartbreak softened your heart just enough to love more deeply. How every closed door redirected you toward a path more aligned with your true self. How every paused plan carved out the patience, the strength, the resilience you would need for the greater calling ahead. Nothing is ever wasted when you are living with awareness. No effort is ever in vain when it is rooted in sincerity. Even the roads that seem to lead nowhere leave behind maps in your soul. Even the dreams that seem to slip away leave behind gifts you will one day understand. Buddhist practice teaches that the outer form of your dreams may change, but the essence is never lost. The longing that once moved you is still alive, still shaping you, still guiding you, even if it no longer looks like the vision you first held. Sometimes, delayed dreams are simply dreams ripening into a different form, one better suited to who you are now, to what the world most needs from you now. Other times, the delay is the dream's way of protecting you, keeping you from receiving something too soon, before you have the grounding, the wisdom, the stability to hold it without it slipping through your hands. When you trust that nothing is lost, you stop measuring your life by external milestones. You stop judging yourself by how fast you achieve or how neatly your plans unfold. You start honoring the deeper work, the invisible ripening of your heart, the unseen strengthening of your spirit, the quiet building of the foundation beneath all your becoming. You start trusting that even when life does not give you what you want, it is still giving you what you need. You start seeing that even the dreams you mourned have left gifts behind, gifts of character, gifts of clarity, gifts of courage. And you start realizing that your life is not the sum of your achievements. It is the unfolding of your being. It is the flowering of your soul through every season, every sorrow, every surprise. When you release the fear of loss, you find a new kind of freedom, a freedom to dream without desperation, a freedom to hope without fear, a freedom to love the journey for its own sake, not just for what it brings you. You begin to understand that your soul is not in a race against time, that life is not a competition you can lose, that you are not falling behind just because your timeline does not match the mind's old maps. You are exactly where you need to be to become who you are meant to become. Every pause, every detour, every seeming dead end is part of the sacred geometry of your path, weaving together experiences, lessons, connections you cannot yet fully see, but that are forming the beautiful, intricate pattern of your life. You may not see the full picture yet. You may not understand why things have unfolded the way they have. But trust that understanding will come in its own time, and that in the meantime, nothing is being lost. Not the time you spent waiting, not the dreams that seemed to slip away, not the love you gave that was not returned. It all remains part of your story. It all remains part of your offering. It all remains part of your unfolding. Buddhist wisdom teaches that everything that arises leaves an imprint. Every kindness shapes the field of your life. Every intention shapes the ripples moving outward into the world. Even when dreams delay, the energy you poured into them is never wasted. It lives on, sometimes transforming into something new, sometimes circling back to you in unexpected ways, sometimes preparing the ground for dreams even greater than the ones you imagined. You are never starting from scratch. You are always building on sacred ground. You are never moving backward. You are always spiraling deeper into truth. And when the time is right, when the conditions ripen, you will see how every step mattered, how every moment belonged, how even the hardest waiting was not empty, but full of unseen grace. Tonight, as you let yourself breathe into the stillness, let the old stories of loss fall away. Let the grief that says, "It's too late," loosen its hold. Let the sorrow that says, "It was all for nothing," dissolve into the quiet truth rising inside you. Nothing is lost. Nothing real ever slips away. Nothing done with love, with sincerity, with hope is ever wasted. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are unfolding in sacred time. You are growing in sacred soil. You are living a sacred story. Trust it. Honor it. Stay with it. Because even now, even here, even in the delays and detours, your dreams, the ones rooted in truth, the ones aligned with your deepest self, are still alive, still ripening, still moving toward you, and you are moving toward them. One breath, one step, one beautiful sacred pause at a time. And now, as you let the deep reassurance settle into your heart that nothing real is ever truly lost, another layer of wisdom gently rises to meet you. Because living with trust in the unfolding of your own life is only the beginning. True mastery comes when you learn to bring that same trust to your actions toward others. Tonight, you will step into the ancient wisdom of Bodhisattva timing, the art of knowing when compassion calls you to act and when it calls you to wait. There's a tenderness that blooms when the heart wakes up to compassion, a raw, open desire to help, to heal, to fix the suffering you see around you. It feels noble, it feels urgent, it feels right. And yet, Buddhist teachings whisper a deeper truth. Not all action is wise. Not all intervention helps. True compassion is not just about doing good. It is about acting at the right time, in the right way, from the right place inside. The Bodhisattva, the being committed to awakening for the benefit of all, is not driven by panic. The Bodhisattva does not rush to fix everything at once. They listen first. They feel first. They wait for the moment when action will truly serve, not merely soothe their own discomfort. This kind of timing is not taught by the world. The world teaches urgency. The world says, if you see a problem, act now, fix it now, solve it now. But Buddhist wisdom teaches that timing is part of wisdom. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is not to act immediately, but to wait until your heart is clear, your presence is steady, your vision is wide enough to see what is truly needed. Acting from urgency often looks helpful on the surface. It looks like love, but underneath it is often fear. Fear of feeling helpless, fear of witnessing suffering, fear of not being good enough unless you are constantly fixing. Urgent compassion can be noisy, controlling, even violent in its need to intervene. Bodhisattva compassion is different. It is quieter. It is humbler. It knows that rushing into action without understanding can sometimes cause more harm than good. It knows that true service requires patience, discernment, and the willingness to be uncomfortable without immediately trying to make it go away. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing you can do is simply to be present with someone's pain without trying to fix it. Sometimes, the deepest healing comes not from solving problems, but from sitting silently beside someone in their darkness, holding space for their own strength to awaken. Timing matters because true help is not about your need to give. It is about their readiness to receive. It is about meeting people where they are, not where you think they should be. It is about honoring their process, their pacing, their dignity. The Bodhisattva waits, not out of indifference, but out of reverence for the other's soul journey. They trust that each being has their own unfolding, their own sacred timing of awakening. They trust that sometimes seeds planted in silence grow deeper than seeds forced into premature blooming. Waiting does not mean abandoning. It does not mean closing your heart. It means holding the field of love open long enough for real transformation to take root, not forced by your will, but invited by your presence. There are times when action is needed, times when the call to help is clear and immediate. True bodhisattva timing is not passive. It is not an excuse for inaction. It is a living, breathing attentiveness to what each moment actually needs. Not what your mind thinks should happen, but what the heart knows is right. This kind of timing requires humility. It requires the courage to act when called, even when you are afraid. It also requires the courage to wait when waiting feels unbearable. It requires the willingness to be misunderstood, to look like you are doing nothing, while you are actually doing the most important thing of all, trusting the deeper intelligence at work in all things. When you live with bodhisattva timing, you stop measuring your worth by how much you fix. You start measuring it by how faithfully you stay present. You stop seeing yourself as the savior and start seeing yourself as a companion, a steady presence walking beside others on their journey, offering help when invited, offering silence when needed. You learn that compassion is not just about doing. It is about being the kind of presence that nourishes growth, even when no visible change is happening yet. About being the kind of love that does not demand results to stay faithful. You also learn to extend this same patience to yourself, to trust your own pauses, to honor your own slow awakenings, to stop forcing your own healing into timelines that do not match your soul's natural pace. Because sometimes the person you most need to show bodhisattva timing toward is yourself. Sometimes you need to act with fierce love on your own behalf. Sometimes you need to wait with tender patience for your own heart to open. Sometimes you need to recognize that your own unfolding cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, cannot be judged by the mind's harsh standards. When you live this way, compassion stops being a performance. It becomes a way of breathing, a way of seeing, a way of trusting that life is already moving every being toward awakening, and that your role is not to push, but to support, to witness, to love without conditions. There is a peace that comes when you surrender to bodhisattva timing, a peace born from knowing that you are neither the author nor the controller of other people's journeys. A peace born from trusting that your small acts of presence, your quiet prayers, your patient love, all of it matters, even when it is invisible, even when it seems like nothing is changing. Tonight, as you let yourself sink even deeper into rest. Let go of the burden to fix everything. Let go of the pressure to always know exactly what to do. Let go of the fear that you must save the world through your effort alone. You are not here to force awakening. You are not here to rush healing. You are here to be a steady flame, a gentle river, a patient hand. You are here to trust the sacred timing of all things, the timing of your own life, the timing of others' lives, the timing of the great unfolding that moves through every heart, every soul, every breath. Trust when to act. Trust when to wait. Trust that both are forms of love. And in that trust, you will find a deeper strength, a deeper compassion, a deeper joy. Because when you live by bodhisattva timing, you are no longer fighting life's currents. You are flowing with them. And in that flow, you find not just peace for yourself, but healing for the world around you. And now, as your breath settles into a softer rhythm and the stillness of night wraps around you like a trusted companion, let the wisdom of everything you've heard tonight sink even deeper. You have walked through the sacred teachings of patience, trust, and surrender. You have remembered that waiting is not wasting, that delays are not defeats, that nothing true is ever lost. You have touched the ancient rhythm where life does not rush and where even the smallest setback carries the seeds of unseen miracles. You have learned that urgency is not strength, that presence is stronger than panic, that sacred slowness ripens what force would ruin. You have discovered that silence can be louder than action, that even when life pauses, your soul is still moving in ways you cannot yet see. You have remembered that your path is not a straight race toward some distant finish line. It is a spiral unfolding, a living dance between effort and surrender, between dreams and timing, between your heart's longing and life's wiser unfolding. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are not late for your own destiny. You are right where you are meant to be, held by a timing far wiser, far kinder, far more beautiful than anything the mind can plan. Tonight, let go of the struggle to rush ahead. Let go of the fear that life is leaving you behind. Trust the gentle clockwork of your soul. Trust that the seeds you have planted are alive beneath the surface. Trust that what is meant for you is not slipping away. It is ripening, perfectly, silently, powerfully, inside the sacred timing of your own life. And when you wake tomorrow, may you carry this trust with you like a quiet flame. May you walk lighter. May you breathe deeper. May you live, not from rushing, but from resting in the certainty that you are already becoming all that you were meant to become. If tonight's journey touched something deep inside you, leave a comment below with the words, "I trust the timing of my life." Let it be a small but powerful commitment to your own unfolding. And if you want more teachings like these, the kind that hold you steady when the world pulls you in every direction, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the bell so you never miss a moment of this shared path toward deeper peace. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this sacred journey. Until next time, keep walking gently, keep trusting fiercely, and remember, you are always exactly where you need to be.